We will call the meeting to order at 4 p.m. Roll call.
Trustee Barto.
Yes?
Trustee Matoye.
Here.
Trustee Crane.
Here.
Trustee Anderson.
Here.
Trustee Ursoilu.
Here.
Trustee Wigan.
Here.
Trustee Yelsey.
Here.
Dr. Smith.
Here.
Okay. Move to adoption of the agenda. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to pull an item for discussion. 17A2.
And I would like to have an item of clarification. It doesn't necessarily have to be pulled, so 17A1.
A what?
1.
So may I have a motion to adopt the agenda with 17A2 pulled for discussion?
So moved.
And may I have a second?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved by Trustee Matoye and seconded by Trustee Crane. Oh, and we also need to, but I can do that at the time. Roll call vote.
Trustee Barto.
Yes. Yes?
Trustee Matoye.
Yes.
Trustee Crane.
Yes.
Trustee Anderson.
Yes.
Trustee Ursoilu.
Yes.
Trustee Wigan.
Yes.
Trustee Yelsey.
Yes. All right, community input on closed session items. Seeing none, we will now move to closed session. The items are 5A, conference with labor negotiator, and 5E, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, employment. We will return to open session at 6 p.m. We're moving to closed session at 4:01 p.m. We'll call to order at 6 p.m.
That's pretty. Okay, Michelle.
with opening ceremonies, Pledge of Allegiance led by Student Board Member Ethan Krause.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, move to adoption of the minutes 10-3-22 and 10-18-22. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Trustee Anderson, seconded by Trustee Yelsey. Roll call vote.
Trustee Barto.
Yes?
Trustee Matoye.
Yes.
Trustee Crane.
Yes.
Trustee Anderson.
Yes.
Trustee Ursoilu.
Yes.
Trustee Wigan.
Yes.
Trustee Yelsey.
Yes.
All right, now we move to student board member reports.
Oops.
Trustee Matoye.
Yes, I know. I wasn't on that page yet. Welcome, Ethan. We're glad to see you up here, and our two other board members, Marcella and Fernando. Thank you. And TJ. Let's take it. It's all yours. Just make sure the pointy end points to your mouth, and it moves easily.
Good evening, Superintendent Smith and members of the board. Our question for this week was, what was our campus doing in terms of the fentanyl crisis? My name is Ethan Krause, and I represent Cloud Campus. In regard to the topic, I contacted the principal of Cloud Campus, Dr. Stevens, to find out what Cloud Campus was doing in regards to addressing the fentanyl crisis. In Cloud's health and PE courses, lessons will be taking place about this topic. Our elementary and secondary are both using virtual backgrounds to show Cloud's commitment to the theme of this year, which is to celebrate life drug-free. We are also doing a Spirit Week to promote Red Ribbon Week, following the question of we also asked the question of if we think it helps. Following this, I think it does help. Through the lessons and promotion of Red Ribbon Week, I believe Cloud Campus is making a difference with addressing the fentanyl crisis.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Our next person on the list is Fernando Baranon from Estancia High School.
Good evening, Superintendent Smith, President Bartow, and fellow Board of Trustees. This week at Estancia, we are recognizing Red Ribbon Week along with Battle of the Bell on Friday. On Monday, ASB passed out red ribbon bracelets to the students so that we can promote drug and alcohol awareness. Estancia has continued its quest to be inclusive by having school spirit days. We believe that if students are excited about coming to school and if it is a positive place, that they will want to keep their bodies and minds healthy. Even though there isn't direct drug and alcohol awareness every day, the goal of our school is to help everyone make healthy choices. Being a part of ASB at Estancia, we put in a lot of effort into promoting spirit wear and having our hallways and commons covered with posters. ASB has made several Red Ribbon Week posters, made announcements on our daily announcements these past 2 days about drug use prevention, and have displayed information on fentanyl and its negative impact on people through our flat screen TVs. I also wanted to share that the nonprofit organization called One on Campus has been very helpful to our school as students gain support through the meetings held that steps aside the stressors that students go through on the daily and allow for human connection. Estancia has continued to promote student involvement through our 5-star program where students receive points by attending sports games and school events. They can redeem these points for cool prizes such as Estancia shirts, stickers, water bottles, pins, and many more cool prizes like Donut Day, which has been rewarding to students during our scheduled break. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Estancia's been busy. Marcelina Sanchez from Early College High School.
Good evening, Superintendent Smith, President Bartow, and members of the board. On October 10th through the 15th, we had Red Ribbon Week. On Monday, we passed out red ribbon bracelets. On Tuesday, we committed to be drug-free and dressed to impress. Wednesday, we had a poster at lunch where students signed their name and pledged to be drug-free. Thursday was the start of our canned food drive, and Friday, we wore red to school. It is important for students to know the risks that come with drugs and how to avoid them for them to be healthy. ECHS believes that students should know the resources that are available to them if they need it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and let's give our student board members a round of applause.
Thank you. And now we move to Harbor Council PTA report with Lisa Bowler.
Good evening, Dr. Smith, President Bartow, trustees, cabinet, and guests. I'm filling in for Cynthia tonight, and it's my pleasure to report that we have over 5,600 PTA members so far, and the month's not over, and it's never too late to join the PTA. Our units are working on their reflections, which is a PTA national program. Our Harbor Council reception for the first place winners from all of our participating schools will be held here in the Sanborn Room on November 17th from 5 to 7 p.m. And in February, there will be a reception at the 4th District level, which is all of Orange County. So our first place winners here will go on to 4th District, and there'll be a reception at the Board of Education up there on Red Hill, or off of Red Hill at Calmus. We're also excited about our first Harbor Council coffee with the superintendent, which is tomorrow morning at Newport Harbor High School. It will be for any PTA members. We're doing them by zone. So this first one is the Newport Harbor zone, but if you're a PTA member at one of our other schools, you're welcome to attend. And it will be at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning in the reading room at Newport Harbor, which is in their library. Also, our PTAs are in the midst of having their Boo Fests. There are a few going on tonight and the rest of the weekend. And they're doing Boo Fests and Trunk or Treat. And then our units are all getting their PTA business in order, their audits for the year end in order, and their taxes, which are due November 15th. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we move to CSEA and NMFT President's comments. We'll start with CSEA President Stu Tedford.
Evening, Board, President Bartow, sorry. I feel like you guys are my family. I mean, after the state of the schools, I mean, you know, everybody knows me, so I just wanted to say how much fun that was and how absolutely positively nervous I was to get up and speak in front of everybody. But all the positive feedback I got from all the board members and from the just people who were there, lady stopped me today and said that I did a really great job. So I guess, you know, this is my thing. But But on a serious note, I'd like to thank you for your consideration of our MOU. We appreciate the fact that the district thinks about us like that, and that by squaring up the salary, it'll make everything a little easier going forward. We do have a couple of years to worry about those kinds of things, but I just wanted to say thank you to everybody and Leona's hard work, and I know that Wes had mentioned it in a meeting we had, and I was kind of like oblivious to it, but I'm really happy because it's a lot of money for my members, and my members need it, especially the part-timers. So I want to say thank you for all of that. And last but absolutely not least, is I wanted to congratulate Shar on her potential personnel commission. So we had talked about what a great addition she would be to the Personnel Commission, and I just wanted to say that I really hope that that happens, because I know that we'll be able to work with you as a member of the commission, as well as we have as a school board member, and back in the day as a principal. I don't know if you remember that or not, but you're one of my first schools when I first came here. So you were always really kind to me, so I hope that it works out for you. But I really appreciate all the support everybody gives, and I wanted to say thank you again, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
I'll take a warm coffee.
And then we have NMFT Representative Tamara Fairbanks.
Good evening, Dr. Smith, President Bartow, honored trustees and guests. It is my honor and privilege to introduce our NMFT President, Rhonda Reed. Rhonda brings a wealth and insight that is an asset to our organization. Rhonda has served as a coordinator for our elementary counselors under the Project Safe Connections grant. She served as a crisis responder for both the district and a county, and a mentor for each and every one of our school sites under crisis response. She's also has experiences in elementary as well as secondary at each and every one of our school sites. She was the recipient of the Injury to One Awards through NMFT, and have also served on our negotiations team. During this transition, Rhonda has worked tirelessly between her current duties and leading us at NMFT. Her work in attending human resource superintendent and joint benefit team meetings demonstrates her servant leadership. As an executive board member, I am proud to say that we are stronger than ever because of excellent leaders, and Rhonda is an example of that. So I introduce you, Rhonda Reed.
Thank you, Tamara. This will be short. I just want to say how deeply honored and delighted I am to be president of Newport-Mesa Federation of Teachers. I also want to thank Superintendent Smith and Assistant Superintendent Olson for their assistance as I transition into this new role and making it as smooth as possible. I also am looking forward to the continued collaboration, working together on behalf of our certificated staff and our students. So thank you.
Thank you. And welcome. Now we move to community input on non-agendized items.
This is an opportunity for the public to address the board regarding items not on the regular meeting agenda. Comments on non-agenda topics are limited to 3 minutes per comment, up to 20 minutes per topic. A speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another person. By order of the Brown Act, Section 54954.2, the board will take no action nor have any discussion on non-agendized items. The superintendent may provide clarification during superintendent's comments.
We're going to start with Cass Kong, then Mafik Eri, and then Ruth Kobayashi.
Good evening. I hope everyone's having a nice night. My name is Cass, and I'm a freshman at Newport Harbor High School. Now, you're probably wondering, what's a freshman doing here? Or you're thinking, what does a freshman know about a school he's only spent a few months at? The 4 years you spend at high school are some of the most significant, and the environment there is a major factor in your future. Tonight, I'm here to highlight the inclusive, welcoming, equal community Harbor has established. Stepping onto a new campus is always a little terrifying, and the feeling's amplified when you're entering high school. It's like exploring an unknown ocean filled with hundreds of familiar yet unfamiliar sights. But as I traversed my classes, it became increasingly obvious that I belonged at Harbor. All of the teachers and staff members I've met are committed to their work and willing to give support to anyone who needs it. Not only that, but these people have poured so much effort into creating a safe and inclusive environment. One student is never favored over another, and if you need help, you can get it without fear of being mocked or discriminated against. High school is an important place for building connections, and Harbor offers dozens of opportunities for students to get involved and meet people with common interests. There's a variety of clubs and organizations like ASB, Drama Club, Bridges, and PRISM. I believe PRISM especially is a great club as it addresses equality and inclusion at Harbor for LGBTQ+ students. When you're part of a community that has historically been abused, belittled, and erased, it can be difficult to feel comfortable and wanted, especially in high school. The value of having a place to gather and connect with similar people is immeasurable. Those are only two small factors contributing to Harbor's diverse and wonderful community. Every time I step onto campus, I know I'm safe in a place that will let me thrive. No matter who you are as a person or what your identity is, there is always room at Harbor for you. I want to thank the school board for this opportunity and for allowing students to share their voices and be heard. As Principal Bolton says, diversity is our strength. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mafik Ari.
Good evening, Newport-Mesa School Board. I hope you all are well. If you don't know me already, my name is Mafik Ari, and I'm a proud senior at Newport Harbor High School and the founder of the club PRISM. Today, I would like to cover a few issues that have been popular both among the school board meetings and on the well-known Instagram account Newport-Mesa Uncensored. The first issue I would like to address being the gender neutralization of our schools. Clearly, there has been some worry amongst some parents as binary terms begin to shift to neutral alternatives. One key example being mentioned last meeting, a father was scared for his daughter's high school future over the terms prom king and prom queen being changed to royals. In no way do I wish to dismiss his feelings or any others' feelings, but instead I would like to help. The beautiful thing about this gender neutralization is that it will not take away from your daughter's or son's opportunities to become prom king or queen. Once they have obtained their position of prom royal, they can select whether they could be called prom queen, or prom royal. Think of it like a survey where you get the freedom to choose the title that fits you best. All that gender neutralization does is make campuses places of opportunity for all girls, boys, and others. Secondly, I would like to discuss the group that forms Newport-Mesa Uncensored. It is strange to me as a student that adults without kids currently in our systems are telling us that our district is suffering and how the school that I love so much is horrible because of its inclusivity and open-mindedness. I have one thing to say to this group. As Martin Gore wrote and Dave Gahan powerfully sang, before you come to any conclusions, try walking in my shoes. Thank you so much for your time and effort. I'm glad I was given this opportunity to talk tonight.
Thank you. Next, we have Ruth Kobayashi.
Good evening. My name is Ruth Sanchez Kobayashi, and I am a conservative Christ follower. I want to tell you there are so many great things happening in this district. I've been blown away by all the school spirit around town between the Sailors, the Sea Kings, all the other schools. Those are the ones that I know the best. There's just so much happiness, and I keep hearing so many reports of kids that are so glad to be together. We're seeing learning losses from the pandemic nationwide and locally, and it's going to take strong leadership to take this challenge head on and to make up for lost time for these kids. I thank you for that leadership. To all of us, including my community, yes, it's fair to press our leaders to do more, absolutely. But do not fall prey to the destructive messaging from a small group of folks who hate our schools, because that's what they do. Some of the ways that hatred has been expressed include, we will tear it down, I have a match and we ride at dawn, or what is a human? That last one in particular condemned organizations who support gay students. Specifically, what really upset me was included in that was the organization Blaze It Forward. For those of us from Newport Beach that live not too far from the Port Streets, where the alleged murderer of Blaze lives, to disrespect the memory of a gay Jewish boy, young man, is unforgivable. These people do not represent my community. We can all do better, all of us. We can come together as parents, grandparents, and school leaders to help these kids get back to where they need to be. We can't burn it down, write at dawn, or insinuate that those who are different from us are not humans. But we can make sure that our kids get the very best education and feel cared for in their schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Olga Para.
Good evening. Thank you so much for listening to me again. I was here the first meeting from the school year, and I have the same topic, bullying. Right now it's happening to two of my students. One, Ray School, which I get to pick her up every single day, and she's crying. She has scratches on her face, a big bruise on her arm because she was punched. It's happening to a Twinkle student right now, where in the beginning of the year, she was really excited about the school year, middle school, right? So she had good grades, and then right now she went to 1.7 because she's been bullied. So I was here the first meeting, and I asked, what is the process? What is the system? How can we do this together, right? But I haven't had any answer about that. So I do demand an answer. What are we gonna do? Our kids are getting bullied, getting hurt. They cannot learn if they are not safe at school. So please, I need an answer. I expect an email, I expect a text, I expect a phone call, something. Because her mom, she needs answers. She cannot send her to school if she's gonna be hurt, bullied, her low self-esteem. She has a low self-esteem now because she's not safe, okay? So it's the second meeting, the second time I'm here with the same topic, the same worry, right? We don't want our students to go through that. What are we gonna do? What is the next step for me? I don't know, a formal complaint? Do we have to call the police when she gets hit? Because we already went to the office, we already talked, we go through protocol. I advise the parents, please go with the teacher first, then the principal, then go to the district, and we're following protocol. We wanna do this in a mannerly form, okay? So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you can give me an answer.
Thank you. Next, we have Sarah Hardiman.
Thank you, Superintendent Smith, President Bartow, and other members of the board for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Sarah, and I'm a junior at Newport Harbor High School. As I followed the past several weeks of discourse on the group Newport-Mesa Uncensored, I have noticed one thing in particular. It is mainly composed of adults with a large lack of student input. Well, I as a student am here tonight to voice my opinion, as one thing I have learned throughout my educational career at NMUSD is to never stay silent when I believe something isn't right, and I believe something is very wrong. I refuse to sit back and watch as my teachers are slandered by people who do not sit in these classrooms every day, let alone have children in these classrooms. These attacks on my teachers are unwarranted and contain a large amount of misinformation, despite what those delivering these attacks might claim. If the members of Newport-Mesa Uncensored truly care about the children and students, they will listen to what my peers and I have to say tonight instead of trying to speak for us. You are not protecting us by labeling our educators as sexual groomers and pedophiles for supporting clubs like PRISM, which is a safe space for LGBTQ+ students, Bridges, which draws attention to hate and bullying on campus, and Inclusion Council, which brings together some of the school's most vulnerable populations. You are not protecting us by attempting to remove important resources for LGBTQ+ students like myself, and you certainly are not protecting us by putting the safety and livelihood of our administrators at risk by blasting them on social media. In fact, we're doing the opposite. A large portion of students at NHHS would say they are happy with the school, and that includes our teachers and curriculum. I have had several of the teachers being labeled with vile and unfitting terms, and I can confidently say that they are some of the best teachers I have had in my time in the district, and I'm proud to stand here and support them as they have done for me every single day. These teachers genuinely care for the students, something I cannot attribute to those involved with Newport-Mesa Uncensored. I am so privileged to attend a school that values me not only in my learning, but in my transition into adulthood. I would like to give a huge thank you to all the teachers in NMUSD, especially those who have been so brave these past few weeks in standing up for their students and the communities they represent. In the words of one of my wonderful teachers, you are brilliant, kind, and deserving of only love. I may be young enough for you to brush me off as a silly, uninformed teenager, but I can guarantee you that I understand. So please, stop pushing these false, politically motivated narratives at the expense of our public education, just so you can snag a couple of seats in the election. In the end, it benefits no one. The support of queer students should not be up for debate. We deserve to feel seen, protected, and represented in the institutions where we spend most of our time. Oh, and one more thing. The school's LGBTQ+ club is not called PRISM to convince parents that it's about science. It's called that because a prism reflects a rainbow. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Lauren Boyd, and then Malia Lavoie, and then Summer Ray.
President Bartow, Superintendent Smith, members of the board, thank you for your continued commitment to students and for your time today. My name is Lauren Boyd. I am currently a senior at Newport Harbor High School. I am an alum of Ensign Intermediate and of Newport Heights Elementary. My parents have been involved in my education for my entire life by volunteering for school site council, superintendent's council, the PTA, by reading with me, talking with me, and supporting me from kindergarten through 12th grade. However, along with the support from the two people who have raised me, there are three words which I think are important to bring into this conversation. In loco parentis, the doctrine dating back to the 1800s, which gave schools the responsibility of protecting students when not in the care of their parents, both in regards to education and our well-accepted shared values. For example, if a child falls off the monkey bars, hits their head, and is physically hurt, who calls 911? The school does. What about the kid who's bullied because they don't look like me, speak like me, or dress like me? The school has the same responsibility to keep them safe, just as they would the kid who fell off the monkey bars. Through In Loco Parentis, teachers have continued to support our students, your children, and my classmates with excellence and grace. However, lately you've been hearing from a minority group of citizens who would have you believe that my teachers don't have their students' best interests at heart. This group would have you believe it's not the school's duty to protect children from physical and emotional harm. This group would have you believe that they know better than the school, better than the teachers, better than you, the board. To which I'd like to respond, look at me. Grandparents, parents, uncles, aunts, brothers, sisters, look at me. I am a product of this system. I am a proud, successful product of this system. I believe in myself. I believe in my critical thinking skills. I believe in my peers' abilities to direct their learning. I believe in the validity of my own learning. I have thrived in school. I have a bright future ahead of me. And more importantly, I recognize that this is the result of an entire system of qualified and talented teachers. I am a product of teachers teaching me a full history, of teaching me our shared values. Who wouldn't want students to receive the same comprehensive education that I have? Who wouldn't want students, or who wouldn't want teachers to teach students in the same masterful way which they have taught me? So when you go vote in the upcoming weeks, please remember what a wonderful job our teachers are doing and support the people who will support them. Don't let those who would divide us. We are better together. Support our teachers, support our students.
Next, we have Malia Lavoie.
Good evening, Superintendent Smith, President Bartow, and other trustees of the board. My name is Malia Lavoie, and I am a senior at Newport Harbor High School. I'm here today to address the group Newport-Mesa Uncensored. I went on a deep dive of their Instagram account and was met with horrendous accusations as well as assumptions about my teachers, clubs, and overall school district. Some of these falsities include allegations of racism from district members, sexual grooming from teachers, and deceitful curriculum in clubs. They are especially concerned with NMUSD's track to inclusivity, insisting it has done, quote, major damage, majors in all caps, while they and their followers claim it has, quote, no place in our schools. I do not agree with any of their protestations. The inclusive environment NMUSD has created and is striving for is ultimately beneficial for its students, staff, and all members of its community, which leads me to this one question. What really is their goal? They imply they are an awareness group, yet the only things they are publicizing are both false and unrepresentative of the Newport-Mesa community. They declare their mission is, quote, to, quote, restore parental rights to NMUSD, as well as to, quote, advocate on behalf of students within the Newport-Mesa Unified School District. On behalf of, as in they are speaking for the students. Rather than continuing to let this small group of parents represent their fabricated and diluted claims, shouldn't we focus more on supporting students, the first-hand source, and feeling welcomed enough to advocate for themselves, like I, along with my fellow student representatives, are doing here today? Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Sunny Ray.
Sorry. Hello, President Bartow, Superintendent Smith, and board members. My name is Sunny Ray. This is my 4th year at Newport Harbor. I am a senior. I have felt safe and accepted on campus, and part of that has to do with the administration and the club PRISM. PRISM has allowed me to interact and get to know other queer teens. In the past, I have been belittled, made fun of, name-called, and shamed due to my gender expression and overall identity. I have more often than not felt like an outsider due to my upbringing, race, and queerness. Even though we have supportive administration, teachers, and even students, there are still ignorant people who make me feel unaccepted, unsafe, and make me question whether or not my queerness is valid. I've often been called a faggot dyke and asked sarcastically if I was gay. I've been referred to by my pronouns in the most awful attitude. I feel like a joke and less than a human. Being harassed on and off campus regularly makes it difficult for me to focus on my academics. My mental health starts to deteriorate and I start to get depressed. I have to assess whether or not I am safe in a current situation I'm in. When things happen, I have to choose either to fight back, ignore them, and take it, or walk away. It's gotten to the point where I don't feel safe. I always have to be near or with someone. Joining the Club PRISM has made me feel less alone. The club, the Inclusion Council meeting, and the administration have really helped making the school feel safe. The administration has been doing an amazing job by creating safe places for us, giving us resources, and trying to make things more inclusive. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, next I have Michelle Rankin.
Thank you, Newport-Mesa Unified School District board members, for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of you, as well as our community that is here tonight. As part of the Newport Aquatics community, I would like to first thank you and show my appreciation for the relationship your board has built with the Newport-Mesa Aquatics community. It's very much appreciated. Just before summer of 2021, your board introduced a plan for the repair of the Newport Harbor High School pool. After members of the aquatics community reviewed it, we knew it was not the best plan to move forward with, and we knew we needed a full facility renovation, not just the pool. We provided you with our feedback, you listened, you heard us, and as a result, you went back to the drawing board, increased the budget, and we are now looking at a complete aquatics facilities renovation. That to me is a very positive working relationship, and again, I appreciate that. The aquatics community in Newport is unique and far from exclusive. It is quite the opposite in that it includes student athletes from various programs such as culinary arts, ASB, YNG, and most are scholar athletes. Some are City of Newport Beach ocean and pool lifeguards, and many of our athletes return to coach. We also work together with CDM, Estancia, and Costa Mesa High Schools as well as the City of Newport Beach and USA Swimming and Water Polo to ensure we are supporting members of our local, statewide, and national communities. It may be shocking for members of the community who are here tonight to learn that the Newport Harbor High School facility supports the City of Newport Beach lifeguards with training and recertification, the City of Newport Beach Junior Lifeguards Program with training and testing, the City of Newport Beach with swim lessons and summer family activities, the state and national water polo with national exposition games, training and tournaments. It supports close to 100 high school student athletes with swim and water polo, over 50 master swimmers, and over 300 local private and public school kids with swim lessons and meets and water polo lessons and tournaments. We've now just added two more programs to this list. The Newport-Mesa Unified School District has just launched an EMR, which is Emergency Medical Responder course, and 2 periods of swim PE class with 25 to 30 students in each class. The pool deck classroom is home to these courses while at the same time being used as the Aquatics gear and equipment room, coach-athlete film review and coaching room, the athlete study room, and the TAR TV video room. I say this next comment with sheer delight, I promise. We're busting at the seams over at the Newport Harbor High School pool. We are keeping the facilities together with duct tape, luck, and a whole lot of wishful thinking, hoping that our pool pump and heater won't break down again. So I ask you, the board members, to keep the renovation project on track. I ask anyone in the community who may have questions about the project to email the board or send an email to Newport Beach Water Polo. We can't afford to let this be delayed anymore.
Next we have Julie Castillo.
Superintendent Smith, President Bartow, distinguished board members, I just thank you so much for the opportunity to make a statement concerning the Newport Harbor pool renovation. But in light of the agendized speakers before me, it kind of makes this statement kind of superfluous, or not superfluous, but just seem kind of small. And but anyway, my sister Dana Black served on this board for 24 years, and so I'm very aware of the magnitude and the weight of which you carry, in which you just are kind of fighting on behalf of your constituency who voted you into office, as well as just trying to make a safe and incredible learning environment for our students, as well as pulling in just quality administration and faculty and staff. And Sean Bolton, we adore him. He's a gem, and we're so grateful for his leadership. But anyway, my name is Julie Castillo. I am a parent of a Newport Harbor water polo player, and I've had the privilege of having 6 kids go through Newport-Mesa schools, and they've all had incredible experiences. My husband and I, like I said, are alumni. We've had the privilege of seeing the evolution of the district, and especially in these last years of just the focus of the district of renovating and updating and bringing new facilities for our students that just elevate the opportunities for our students, which is incredible. You guys have a big job, and so I'm just really grateful for your efforts and how you endeavor on behalf of our students. Like I said, 6 students. We're kind of a sports-centric family. My daughter came to me one time and said, "Mom, how come you never put us in dance?" And I was like, "What's dance?" So, I mean, we just, volleyball, pretty much every sport at Newport Harbor, we've had an experience, and we've had experiences on the booster board. So our experiences varied. And I just want to say that I've served on the Newport Harbor Volleyball Booster Club, the Soccer Booster Club. We just, sports is our thing, and we've had fantastic experiences. All 5 of my 6 have gone through and played in some form or fashion in college, or just allowed them the impetus to get into a 4-year university. So I'm just very grateful. Let's see. So, like I said, I was booster president. Right now, I'm just a snack bar coordinator. And so I am so grateful for that opportunity because, it's given me a firsthand view at the unique of the Aquatics program. Just high parental involvement. We have this amazing youth program.
Thank you, Julie.
But anyway, just thank you so much.
Next, we have Nicholas Verdugo, and then Michael Lasser. We'll go to Michael Lasser, and then we can come back. And then after that will be Jill Hunt.
Good evening, Superintendent, board members. My name is Michael Lasser, and my son is a senior water polo player at Newport Harbor. And I want to come here tonight to express my thanks to you for all the work that you've done in support of the Newport Harbor Aquatics Facility renovation project. And I want to urge you to please keep this project on track and moving towards a timely completion. Newport Beach is an aquatics community, and the Newport Harbor Pool is central to that identity. It has made a profound impact not just on the student athletes who have competed there, but on the entire city. You guys know about the Olympians that have come from that pool, the multiple college All-Americans, the kids that go on to Stanford, Ivy League, UC schools, state schools. There have also been numerous Newport Beach firefighters, lifeguards, and Newport Mesa teachers and coaches who daily make a positive impact in our community. But I know that there are still those out there questioning why this needs to be done. I've seen their postings online, I've heard complaints, and I want to say this. The Newport Harbor Pool is 50 years old, ancient by the standards of modern facilities, and it is literally falling apart. Our CIF champion boys water polo team now uses a locker room where a couple times a month the drains in the floor back up with urine and much worse substances. The preparation for last year's CIF championship run had to be done at other pools because our pool was breaking down over and over and over. Multiple times a year, swim lessons, junior lifeguard training for our city's children are disrupted by the equipment that breaks down. The entire facility is literally at this point unsafe, unsanitary, and unsustainable, which means that the improvements to the pool are urgent and long overdue. This facility should be one of our city's crown jewels, and it needs to be brought up to a level that corresponds to the positive impact that this pool has made on the city of Newport Beach and its residents. Superintendent, board members, thank you again for the work you've already done, and please continue the effort to keep this project progressing without delay. Our students and our community desperately need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Jill Hunt and then Jake Leidy.
Good evening, Superintendent Smith, President Bartow, board members. My name is Jill Hunt, and I'm a proud alumni of Newport Harbor High School. I have two freshmen who are proud new sailors, and our oldest son is a freshman at Harvard University and was a valedictorian and proud sailor graduate of the class of 2022. And most importantly, he was a member of the boys CIF championship water polo team. I am here tonight to show support for the Newport Harbor Pool project. So many things have improved at Newport Harbor since I was in school there. The teachers are incredible, the programs offered rival the top private schools in Los Angeles and Orange County, and I can honestly say that much of it is thanks to the incredible leadership of Sean Bolton, the captain of our ship. Do you know what has not improved since my time at Harbor? The pool. So thank you for finally recognizing the long overdue need to improve the pool and your unwavering commitment to bring the pool to the same standards as Estancia, Costa Mesa, and Corona Del Mar High School. Your commitment to improve the pool is the right decision for the best boys and girls water polo program in the country. Not only does Aquatics program at Newport Harbor High School develop great athletes, but under the coaching of Ross Sinclair, these players are some of the top students and community student leaders going off to college. They are our future lifeguards, teachers, doctors, lawyers, business owners, and someday school board members. The pool project benefits so many other members of our community as well. My children have all been involved in various clubs and teams that practice at Newport Harbor High School. I have seen lifeguards do their trainings at the pool. I have also received many an email canceling the practice when the pool systems were broken and have had to hold the bathroom door shut with one hand while using the bathroom while watching my children play their sports. The facilities are old and the locks have been broken since I attended school there. It is time. So thank you for bringing the pool, which is home to the best water polo program in the country, up to standards. I am shocked and dismayed that Newport-Mesa Uncensored would critique this long overdue pool project. They do not speak for the community on this issue, nor do they speak for the majority of this community on many other levels. Half of your audience here today is here to support the Newport Harbor High School pool. So thank you for your commitment to keep the pool project moving without interruption or delay. The kids are counting on you.
Thank you. Next we have Jake Lighty and then Alan Slutsky.
Good evening, Dr. Smith, President Bartow, and school board members. My name is Jake Lathy, and I'm a proud alumni of Newport-Mesa Unified School District. I attended Mariners Elementary, Ensign Junior High School, and graduated Newport Harbor High School in 2019, where I was a member of the Newport Harbor boys water polo team. I am currently a fourth-year UCI student athlete on the men's water polo team, where I've played for the last 4 years. I was also a Newport Beach City lifeguard for 4 years and currently on the age group coaching staff, along with being a volunteer high school coach during the summers at Newport Harbor. I'm here tonight to thank Dr. Smith, President Bartow, and board members, along with Principal Dr. Bolton and Coach Ross Sinclair for pursuing the Newport Harbor High School pool facility renovations project and approving the budget at the last board meeting. I, as a student athlete, believe it's long overdue and well needed, as this is the 50th anniversary of its opening. As a water polo player and the Newport Harbor High School pool has been a big part of my life for the last 14 years. I've played since I was 9 years old through the water polo club into my high school career. And I'm excited to see the improvements that it desperately needs. Over the last 14 years, I, along with my two brothers, have been fortunate enough to have this facility in our community for swim lessons, junior lifeguard training and testing, age group water polo and training competitions, high school water polo training and competitions, Newport Beach lifeguard recertification and training, age group water polo coaching now, and just recently volunteer high school coaching. The Newport Harbor High School pool facility is in constant use from 5 a.m. morning workouts, as I fully am aware of, and glad that I don't have to do anymore, as well as master swim training, high school swim, EMT classes during the day, and swim and water polo practices up to 9:30 p.m., which I currently coach. So, flip side, I guess. When you include swim meets, club water polo games, and tournaments, as well as high school competitions during the seasons, both men's and women's, the Newport Harbor High School pool is used by the community 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. As well as improving the safety, maintenance, and cleanliness, the proposed improvements will keep this facility available and accessible for future generations to enjoy. Thank you all for what you do for our district, school, and community, and thank you again for seeing this project across the finish line. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And next we have Alan Slutsky. Oh, Alan Slutsky.
Hi, my name is Alan Slutsky. I'm a parent of two Newport Harbor High students that participate in the Aquatics program. And I myself attended Newport Harbor and participated in the Aquatics program a long time ago. But when I walked back in that pool deck recently, this pool, just as it was in the summer of 1977 when I took a swim lesson, remains a beehive of activity from morning to night, as you've heard. You might have toddlers getting swim lessons from a city employee, the Newport Beach lifeguard training, along with the swim club, some splash ball, water polo, all age groups coming and going. It's just it never stops. It may be the most utilized pool in the country, and that's I'm being serious about that. And you know, all that leads to a really terrific energy and community that's formed around that pool. But as you've heard, and that was true in 1977, but what's also true is all the physical assets are the same as they were in 1977. So I was thrilled to hear that you guys approved a budget. I won't get into all of the things that need improvement. I will say that the bleachers are a hazard. Making a simple trip from top to bottom is very treacherous, and for my kids' grandparents, they really need the assistance of others in the stands to even make that happen. So, I will just say that I just want to encourage you to get this going, so we're on par with Estancia, CDM, Costa Mesa, and we can put it on a footing to be enjoyed by the next generation of sailors. Thanks.
Thank you. And then I had one more, Nicholas Verdugo.
Hi, thank you, Superintendent Smith and President Barto. I just want to say that the water polo community is very important to my family. The girls, I have two daughters. I have a freshman at Newport Harbor. I didn't attend Newport Harbor, but the water polo community kind of gravitates. I should say the Newport Beach community, as I know it, kind of gravitates towards the pool. Just kind of following on Alan. Just being around it, I've noticed the bleachers are very scary to walk on, especially if you're older. My daughter's grandparents, I have a little trouble coming up and down the stairs. I just think from a community standpoint, from a growth standpoint, I think investing in the pool is investing in the children that actually are really good kids all the way around. I mean, there's so many role models as far as from the coaching staff to the parents. Just it's a tight bond. I just when I heard that you guys approved the budget, my wife encouraged me to come here, and I'm just I just want to say keep pushing forward, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With that, we move on to reports. And we've got 16A, report on debt issuance and management. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped right over your comments.
No, that's fine.
I jumped the page. I apologize. Next, we have superintendent's comments and then the reports.
I'm going to start with the Aquatics Center, since there are so many people here with that on their mind, more than half of the audience, and just say that in all my conversations with the board, to a person I've never heard pushback on that timeline. I've just heard commitment to the project. Same for my team, committed to getting the work done. In fact, I had a conversation with Principal Bolton, the captain of our ship. I love that. I'm probably going to use that weekly now. And I just said, if there's a delay that we can address, please let me know. And he said he absolutely immediately would. So that's our commitment tonight to you. I'd also like to thank my team, if you don't mind, because when I got here, one of the first parents or groups to reach out to me was the Aquatic Center parents, which should surprise you because they're such a meek and shy group, of course. I think it was week 1, and I asked my team, in your conversations with the parents, what did they say they wanted at that center? And the comment, not from folks currently in the room, was we hadn't asked. So I said, what should we do? They said, we should ask. So Jeff and Ada and the team got together and asked the parents, how would you like for us to proceed? And that's where we are today. And I'm grateful for the team's effort. I'm grateful for the honesty of the parents and the advocacy for your students. Later on tonight, we're going to talk about test scores, and we're going to share again that anyone that thinks you can define a student, a classroom, a school by a single metric, especially a standardized test, doesn't understand education. There's so many things we have to look at when we evaluate our schools, when we look at our students. And one of the things is the character of those students. Nothing I say tonight or my team says tonight will be as articulate as the character demonstrated by our students tonight. I've been speaking most of my life. I get paid to do it. And if you're going to criticize without information, use one data point, you just don't get it. Listen to the students, and you will get it. And something that was said tonight was something I was thinking as we were listening to another one of our community members, that our students have rights, right? They have absolute rights. One of those rights is to be valued, feel safe, be seen, and be heard. And that safety part's a big part of that. That is our professional and moral obligation to make sure those rights are met. And so a compliment to the educators that protect them and their rights daily. We have some of our leaders up front. We mentioned our teachers, all of our teammates who have the students' rights and their interests as their focus. It's so impressive. I was with a teacher yesterday, and someone said, "Hey, did you check your email?" And he said, "How would I check my email? I was teaching all day." And I'm like, absolutely. Guess where that teacher teaches? Harbor, right? But we've got over 1,000, right, teachers and other educators, classified staff, that's their focus. And so I want to say that safety is a priority. And with regard to that and the comment about bullying, of course, it's a focus for our schools. And where we miss the mark, we want to respond immediately. And so to Olga, I'll commit that our team will get a hold of her tomorrow and see what we can do to address the issues at Ray and T. Winkle in particular. That will be our commitment to folks as they come to these meetings. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you. We have community input on agendized items. Do we have any comments? Okay.
This is an opportunity for the public to address the board regarding items on the regular meeting agenda. Comments on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per comment, up to 20 minutes per topic. A speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another person. Speaker cards for items on a discussion action calendar may be held until that item is considered by the board if the speaker prefers.
We have on item 17A8, Michelle Murphy. Would you like to go now, or would you like to go before the item? Now?
I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you like to go now, or would you like to go before the item?
No, I can go now.
Okay.
I have a son who really wants to get to Kaiser Woodlands trunk or treat. And
Oh,
so
yes.
I sort of,
Then priorities. Then
I know, I sort of need to get going. But just wanted to say thank you for putting the upgraded seating at Costa Mesa High School on the agenda. Thank you so very much for doing that. We are thrilled. I did hear something about locker rooms and upgrades to those, so I don't know if that's on the agenda somewhere one day down the line, but that would be great. Also wanted to thank you for approving, or hopefully approving, the education and teacher administrator training for Kaiser Elementary and Woodland Elementary, my schools too, so thank you so much for that. I hope you all vote for that. And also Reflex Math, such a great program. All of our kids at Kaiser and Woodland really appreciate it, so I hope that gets approved as well. Now, on to trunk or treat. Okay, go. Right.
Thank you. All right. With that, we move to 16A, report on debt issuance and management. Mr. Trader.
Good evening. I'd like to introduce Mr. Jason Chung, and as he comes up to the podium here to make a presentation, he is with, he's your municipal advisor, and we're required to have one because we have debt. And according to Board Policy 3470, staff annually reports to the board regarding debts issued by the district. And that information includes tax rates, bonding capacity, credit ratings, market updates, and refunding opportunities, and the district's compliance with post-issuance requirements. I will address district's compliance with post-issuance requirements. We are compliant with all of that. So with that then, Mr. Chung, he has some information for you.
Hopefully that is visible for everyone in the audience. But good evening, members of the board. My name is Jason Chung. I am with Fieldman Rollap and Associates. My boss and I head our firm's education practice, and we've been the firm's municipal advisor for about 6 years now. It's been a few years since the district has issued debt. It's been about 2 years since you've issued your refinancing bonds, about 5 years since the last new bonds for construction. So there's no essentially new news to report on your old measure, just an update on how things have gone as far as assessed value and your tax rates, while we also look at potential funding for new funding if there's a need. So on slide 2, we'll start with the historical assessed valuation. And assessed valuation, again, is very important because this is your taxable value in your entire community. And so your bonds that are currently outstanding now, they are charged based on a percentage of your assessed value. And so obviously we would like that to get higher and higher each year. And the great news is since 1980, for nearly 45 years, your history is about as consistent and strong as any district I've seen in the state. There's only been 1 year of decline, and that was in 1995, where you declined by 0.3 percentage points. So overall, incredibly consistent. The most recent fiscal year, 2023, the district increased in value by 7.5%. That's outstanding. Pretty consistent throughout the county. Of course, thanks to the rise in home prices that we've all seen lately. The bottom left chart are your averages. So we looked at your 5-year average all the way down to your 40-year average. And all of those are consistently above the 5% range, which is very strong. The bottom right, as a unified school district, you can have at any point in time up to 2.5% of your assessed value in bonds outstanding. And so you multiply 88 billion by 2.5%. At any time, you can have 2.2 billion in bonds outstanding. Thankfully, we are nowhere near close to that. You have just under 225 million, so about 1/10 of your current bonding capacity is outstanding. So you have a lot left to do if you decide that need is there. Now, just a very quick overview of the first bond measure A, and this was approved in June of 2000 for a total authorization of 110 million. 2 series of bonds were issued in 2001 and 2003 for the full amount. So there's no new construction to be generated from this. There's only really looking at refinancing opportunities, just like when you buy a home and you look at refinancing that. And since that time, the district has refinanced these bonds up to 4 times. And that was, I think, in 2002, 2010, 2012, and 2017 and 2020. So you've taken a lot of advantage of low interest rate market conditions. 2017 was a great year. You saved, and I'll have it on a future slide, you've saved in total over 150 million for your taxpayers. But when you refinance municipal bonds, it's a little different than a home mortgage. When you look at a home mortgage, you usually re-up for a new 30-year rate at a lower rate to show savings. What municipal bonds are done, you cannot extend the final payment. You have to show savings in every year. And so all bonds related to this Measure A are going to expire and completely fall off the taxpayer's bill in about 6 years. So now we go to the most recent measure, 2005 Measure F, and this was approved in November 2005 for 282 million. And what's unique about this measure is that when usually new bond authorizations are passed, the taxes are directly additive on top of what's currently outstanding. What you promised to your voters at the time was you would project no higher than the rate that they were currently paying. So all bonds related to 2000 Measure A and 2005 Measure F are restricted to a tax rate limit of $18.87. And that's a pretty specific number because that was the most recent tax rate that was charged on your voters at that time. And so since that time, every time we've refinanced bonds or structured new bonds for new money, we've always adhered to that $18.87 projection. And again, 3 series of bonds have been issued. You do currently have about 88.4 million of remaining authorization to be accessed in the future. You cannot access that now because you are right against that limit, which I'll show in the future. But this authorization never goes away. This never expires for you. You can access it when you have that tax rate ability in the future. Just a very quick summary on the refinancing bonds. I'd mentioned we've done it 4 times in the past, saving taxpayers over 153 million in total. That 2017 was the largest refinancing, and that was great because that's when interest rates were very low. We refinanced a lot of capital appreciation bond debt, which is that expensive debt, and we replaced that with much lower interest rate bonds. And thanks to those refinancings and the strong assessed value that we've seen in the last 5 years, your tax rates since that time have not eclipsed that 1887 rate. Slide The next slide is just a quick roster of all the bonds related to 2000 Measure A and 2005 Measure F. So 5 series in total, just under $225 million in bonds outstanding. On the far right are those dates that we can next look at refinancing your bonds. So there's 2 bonds that currently cannot be refinanced, either because they were capital appreciation bonds or because their repayment term is just too short. Usually when you sell a municipal bond, you have a 10-year lockout period before you can look at refinancing. But your next opportunity is in August 1, 2027. So we will definitely continue to monitor rates at that time. Now this is a pretty, lot of info on this chart, but I'll try to explain it pretty well. So the bottom chart, each of the different colored series of bars represents a different bond series. The red horizontal line is that $18.87 projection per 100,000. So if you've moved in the community and bought a home for $3 million or so, your $18.87 tax rate will be roughly, about 18.87 multiplied by 3,000. So it'll be around that. And then, actually it'll be a little lower. So 88.4 million left in remaining authorization. And then you see that white space beginning in year 2039. That's when that capacity really begins to open up for the district. And this is just a projection. If the district continues to grow at the pace, 7.5% or 6% for a number of years, then we see that white gap start to increase and come a little earlier, say in year 2030 or so. But really, that capital appreciation bond refinancing erased a lot of that debt that would have been in year 2039 through 46. Now we get to, we talked about how that 88.4 million is available to you when you need it. You are currently locked out due to tax rates. So we looked at what a potential 2024 measure would look like. We do have that November 2022 election coming up in a few weeks. So your next opportunity would be that March primary in 2024. And this is just a quick snapshot of where the district lies in relation to every other school district in the county. And it's no surprise that Newport-Mesa is among the lowest in the county. Right now, your current rate is $17.24 per 100,000, so about $1.50 lower than the projection to voters, which is great news. The median tax rate of all the counties in the district is $26.34 as of this current fiscal year, so you are considerably below that level, which is great. The next slide is just a projection of what a new measure could look like, and following a similar approach to 2005 Measure F, where we're not adding directly on, we're wrapping around what's already been issued in 2000 and 2005. And we're wrapping around with a new aggregate tax rate. So this would increase the limit from $18.87 up to $30 per 100,000. And so that extra $11 is what really you can generate. And in 4 series of bonds, we've projected $260 million in total par amount from 2025 through 2031. And again, this is where we limit all of your bonds, everything that's been issued so far and everything to be issued in the future at that $30 level. This next slide is a more traditional approach. This is where we look at a fresh new tax rate, $10. We looked at a $10 as a minimum. And now, because we're not adhered to wrapping around old debt, it's paid off more efficiently, and so we can generate more bond proceeds. You get a little bit more bang for your buck, so to speak. So at a $10 tax rate, you get $283 million projected. And then I won't go over the next 2 slides, but it's a $15, you get $420. At a $20, you get $560. It's a pretty linear relationship there. As a unified, you can go up to the full $60, but we do realize we're in a pretty tax-sensitive community. We didn't want to show, for showing illustrative purposes now, anything more than $20. But you could get well over $1 billion if you had that need. So now just a summary of what that could be generated in 4 total scenarios. The top was that $10 new election. Everything that we've shown is a current interest bond. Nothing to do with cabs for the future. This is a really efficient form of repaying debt. And then all of them relatively end in the same final payment date. So again, nothing to do tonight as far as a new authorization. This is just for your purposes, but that next opportunity would be March 2024. So appreciate your time very much tonight, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
I just want to thank you so much for all the work that you've done and for putting it into, believe it or not, an understandable format. It's very complicated charts, but as not only a board member, but a property owner and a taxpayer, I appreciate how low we kept everything. but I also think $30 isn't very expensive either, or $38 to get that 20 rate. I mean, I know how much we get from doing all of that. It keeps our property taxes high. It keeps our schools safe and healthy, and it's nice to see it in an understandable way. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you.
Trustee Yelsey and then Trustee Crane.
Yes, I thank you for that. And I also want to thank Jeff Trader and Paul Reed before him for being very mindful of the public's interest in the assessed value of keeping it at 1887. And I think for anybody who's been around a long time and has seen that in the community, they know that's what it is. So if we were to talk about going above that, good luck, guys.
Yeah.
But I do want to thank them because they've been very mindful, and we have refinanced at the appropriate times to get lower interest rates, and that's been terrific as well. We've been able to take more out of the bonds. So thank you very much. It's always good to know that our money is well managed.
Yes.
And much appreciated.
Yeah, to add on to what Trustee Yelsey said, it's also nice for us to look long-term at what is ahead if we need to resort to something. So the big picture helps a lot in your projections as well. And I just love seeing the one where it shows Newport-Mesa at the bottom at 17.3, I believe. So again, thank you, staff, and we've been led well. We trust your judgment, and you have also very much served your community, your taxpayers well. Thank you for the report.
And I just want to close with a big thank you to Jeff as well. And I appreciate this report. We haven't had it in a couple years. And it's just nice to know that we've kept an eye on fiscal responsibility. Thank you.
And that there is hope for the future.
With that, we move. To consent calendar, but there are some amendments to the consent calendar. Staff would like to amend consent item 17D3, Student Services Register, MOU with Project Hope Alliance. The amendment is in the funding notes and will specify that Project Hope Alliance will receive 25% of the total payment upfront with an appropriate invoice, subsequent payments to be made monthly upon receipt of an invoice for services rendered. And both parties have agreed to this change in language. Additionally, from consent, we earlier pulled 17A2. We'll be discussing that later, and then 17A1 for additional comments. So ask for a motion to approve as amended in a second, and then we'll move to the comment on 17A1.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Trustee Crane, seconded by Trustee Metoyer. Okay, so now we'll discuss item 17A1, please.
So there was a question about this.
Would you like me to? Yeah. The question was not that I don't want California to get shade, because I really do want California to get shade. I also know that there have been several other schools that have asked for shade coverings that has arisen from our expanded kindergarten areas and TK, so that sometimes the kindergartners used to eat where everyone else ate. Now they're eating by themselves. And it's right now it's nice, wonderful, warm, sunny days, but in August it was hot and miserable. So shade coverings are being requested. And I just wondered what the process was for, why did California get to go first? So it was truly, that was what I was thinking. So if you could go through the process and where everybody else gets to jump on the bandwagon.
We appreciate the question. I have to tell you, we have heard the board loud and clear about shade structures and about the need to get those constructed. That's a competing priority with the board's priority for a master facility plan. And if you think about, these construction projects, it's almost like a moving van. You put the big things in first, otherwise you may not get it all in there. And so what we're competing against is having all of the information from the master facility plan and what the state is doing with universal transitional kindergarten, which we are honoring, and that's going to spin our world a little differently in terms of facilities. And so we're gathering all that information. And so one of our fears about putting up a lot of shade structures right now is that we may have to tear them down the very next year because of changes with UTK and those kinds of master facility projects that will be that will go on. So anyways, that's our concern. We looked at all of the sites, and California appeared to be a site that would be least impacted for that kind of shade structure. So in summary, we hear you. And we will get really busy on those shade structures as soon as we get this master facility plan.
I know that it would also be nice for, as a former site principal, if there was a timeline and a list, and I knew where I was on the list, I could deal with it accordingly and be excited about it and help my parent community understand and make my other accommodations up until that point. So it would just be helpful, which is also part of the master plan. I understand that. But with something like this, hopefully before the next major heat wave, they could have that information. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And it,
Trustee Anderson.
Thank you. Since it was brought up, because I've asked this a few times, I know that we're going through that process and it could take a while. It seems like we are doing shade structures, though the few that have been done are at schools that have foundations, and it's not district money that we're using to pay for those. So if possible, it would be great. You know, I think we're getting towards the colder months, so the ship has sailed a little bit, but, you know, maybe in late May, if we don't have a specific plan in place, if we can figure out something that, you know, those big kind of kite-looking triangle ones aren't that expensive. They're not permanent structures. So to have some of those at our other sites would be really wonderful. I would love to see some short-term fixes because some of our schools, Ray in particular, it's been really hot out there for years, and UTK is a new thing that is true, but we've been needing shade for some years at some of our schools. So I just want to make sure that we aren't prioritizing schools that have foundations that can pay for it over those that don't. Thank you.
We'll look into those temporary solutions, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, roll call vote.
did we make a motion?
We did.
Yeah, I moved
Great.
it.
I was
I moved it. And
Thank you. I seconded it. Yeah, good, Charlie.
Trustee Barto? Yes. Trustee Matoye?
Yes.
Trustee Crane?
Yes.
Trustee Anderson?
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou?
Yes.
Trustee Wyden?
Yes.
Trustee Yelsey?
Yes.
Thank you. With that, we move to public hearing, recommendation for Board of Education to hold a public hearing for their Personnel Commission
17A2.
appointee.
Oh, 17A2 is moved to discussion action.
Ms. Olson?
Yes, thank you. We would ask that the board open the public hearing for their Personnel Commission appointee. You might recall we came forward back in September, and the Board of Education took action to announce Shar Matoya as its intended appointee to the commission. And then there's the wait period, and then tonight we would ask the public hearing followed by a vote.
So with that, I'm going to open the public hearing at 7:16 p.m. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, the hearing is now closed at 7:16 p.m. Okay. With that, we move to 19, discussion action calendar. 19A, recommendation for Board of Education intended appointee to the Personnel Commission. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Trustee Crane, seconded by Trustee Wygant. Roll call vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Discussing before voting.
If there are comments, yes.
Yes, since this is something that doesn't come up very often, it was new to some of us. And I think one thing that I find really important is we have decided to the next time that this position comes up, is it in 3 years? It's renewed every 3 years? That it would go out to the public, so the public would have an opportunity to apply. Because the timeline was so short, we weren't able to do that this time. And I think that it's really important that the public has an opportunity to apply for these positions. So I just wanted to make sure that was clarified before we had a vote.
I don't think that was
exactly, but I think going out to the public was the spirit, but I think we didn't formalize what the process would look like.
We
right.
did not.
So we were, yes.
Thank
I
you.
don't know if we were going to have more of a presentation or if we're just voting, or I just wanted to make that clear. Because to me, I would be voting no if we weren't doing that process, because I think it's really important that the public and our staff has an opportunity to apply for positions like this.
Okay, thank you. I'll go for a roll call vote. Student Board Member Ethan Kraus,
Yes.
Trustee Barto,
Yes.
Trustee Matoye,
Abstain.
Trustee Crane,
Yes.
Trustee Anderson,
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou,
Yes.
Trustee Weigand,
Yes.
Trustee Yelsey.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, we move to 19B, approve initial planning budget for NPR audiovisual standards development at various locations. Mr. Trader.
On August 16th, the board made a determination regarding the Irvine Company endowment, and the board committed $494,876 for specific projects. And at that time, the board gave us some guidance on that, and we bring to you tonight an item for our multi-purpose rooms. They are in need of audio-visual equipment. And so this item here will do the initial study for what that equipment standard should be. And we believe we can move pretty quickly on this and wrap this up in this year.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Trustee Anderson, seconded by Trustee Matoye. Any comment?
Yay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Roll call vote.
Student Board Member Ethan Kraus,
Yes.
Trustee Barto,
Yes.
Trustee Matoye,
Yes.
Trustee Crane,
Yes.
Trustee Anderson,
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou,
Yes.
Trustee Weigand,
Yes.
Trustee Yelsey.
Yes.
19C, first reading and adoption of modifications to board policy. Superintendent Smith.
We have trustees who are on the Edit and Review Committee that can answer questions if they need support. We do have Annette Franco at the back of the room willing to come up to the mic and help, as well as Sarah Jocham on her item.
I'll get a motion and a second, and then I'll get some questions.
I move, you'd think after 8 years I could say this in the proper order. I move that we waive the second reading and approve all 4 policies at the same time when it comes to it, after discussion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
The only question I had was in regards to board policy 1112, community relations. With regards to the student directory information, I assume that's boilerplate, but it seemed different than what we had in the past. I want a clarification on that one.
We asked that.
Hi, good evening, President Barto, members of the board, Superintendent Smith, and Executive Cabinet. I'm Annette Franco, Public Relations Officer for our school district. That is the standard information. Directory information includes their name, their school, their grade level. That is detailed usually in an AR. Board Policy 1112 does not have an AR. So if it is the desire of the board, we can be specific on what that directory information is. And then as a reminder, that directory information is only given about a student if the parents have given authorization to release that information.
And that's when parents register for the year and they go through that ARIES process, there's that option for media. That's what this relates to.
Correct.
Thank you.
And the language of student directory information is directly from the CSBA sample. But again, if it is a desire of the board, we can clarify what exactly that reference is.
I don't know that we so much need to clarify that as to maybe put that in the registration form so parents know exactly what they're consenting to, because I think that would be important for people to know.
Perfect. And I'll follow up with you tonight from the back or tomorrow and give you that exact language that we use for registration as well.
Thank you. Trustee Crane.
Yes, for BP 1112, under Crisis Communications Plan, can we keep the sentence, let's see, third paragraph where it says, the board also recognizes that the media has an important role to play in relaying this information to the public, and then put it as the lead-in sentence, and then say, as such, the superintendent or communications and public relations officer shall develop strategies. I think we need to have the sentence, the board also recognizes that the media have an important role to play. And then as such, the superintendent or communications and public relations officer.
Happy to make that if that's the desire of the board.
The one thing we had talked about is this is under the section that talks directly about the media rather than about parents and guardians, which is, I believe, in the parent handbook. But I think you had an answer for that.
So one of the things that we discussed was that this section is crisis communication plan. So it is not necessarily the media relations piece of it. And I will tell you, we do have a crisis communication plan that's currently being updated with new processes as we have new faces in certain positions. So in our conversations, we decided to remove that piece of it because it didn't seem to apply specifically to crisis communication. That seemed to fit better with media relations on campus.
Okay.
Which is in a different policy. Okay.
I'm fine with that. That's, thank you.
Any additional comments or edits?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, may I have a roll call vote?
Student Board Member Ethan Kraus,
Yes.
Trustee Barto,
Yes.
Trustee Matoye,
Yes.
Trustee Crane,
Yes.
Trustee Anderson,
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou,
Yes.
Trustee Weigand,
Yes.
Trustee Yelsey.
Yes.
All right, we move to 19D, adopt resolution 09-10-22, selection of Farmers and Merchants Bank as depository for various accounts of district and authorizations therewith. Mr. Trader.
These account authorizations are due to changes in staffing and their routine.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Trustee Matoye and seconded by Trustee Weigand. Roll call vote?
Student Board Member Ethan Kraus,
Yes.
Trustee Barto,
Yes.
Trustee Matoye,
Yes.
Trustee Crane,
Yes.
Trustee Anderson,
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou,
Yes.
Trustee Weigand,
Yes.
Trustee Yelsey.
Yes.
Thank you. We have item 17A2, which was pulled from consent. So, Mr. Trader, would you be the one to speak on that?
So I'd like to introduce Ada Zaresny. She is our facilities director, and she is intimately aware and has information on this item.
Good evening, Ada Zaresny with Newport-Mesa Facilities Department. Good evening, President Barto, Superintendent Smith, Executive Cabinet, and guests. So tonight we're bringing forward a request for approval for a preliminary budget to develop a plan for the California T. Winkle parking lot reconfiguration. In May of '22, we conducted an engineering study of the existing operation of the parking lot. At that time, there was a 40-minute stagger start and end time between the two schools. So we did an analysis to see what the existing conditions were, and we developed a proposed plan. And so now we want to go into analyzing what is happening now and what the impacts of those time start and end changes are. And so what we're asking for is a preliminary budget to further understand what those impacts are and what the project may entail. And so what we're going to do is go back out and analyze what the traffic conditions are, what the walking conditions are, all of the parent drop-off, bus drop-off, to compare it to what we had done before and validate what we had thought we would need to do to make the parking lot configuration changes. And so this will allow us a little bit of money to further analyze that. And then if we deem that a change needs to occur, then we will go into a schematic design. And in that schematic design, we may have to do things like a topo survey, some geotechnical surveys. And so this is just giving us a preliminary budget to do that exercise. And then once we understand what the full need is of the project, we'll bring that back to you and we will propose a project and a total project budget for your approval. And so we know we have new principals at both of those sites. And so we had worked with the former principals, so we need to bring them up to speed and understand what their concerns are versus the prior administration, because they may be doing things differently. We did make some recommendations for the start of school to open the gate by the gymnasium at T-Winkle, which was a little bit of a change. And so whether or not that's working, whether they feel safe doing that or not, are all things that we need to further discuss. So that's why we're bringing this to you tonight.
Trustee Crane.
Yeah, I wanted to, I'm the one who pulled it off the agenda because I did have a couple of questions in mind before. I realized this is an initial step. We're not improving the project, obviously. But I did have some thoughts in my mind regarding the new leadership at both sites. Also, I had a question about what was the main impetus for the change at California T-Winkle, as far as, is it because of traffic congestion? Is it because of a bell schedule? What was the premise to this redesign?
I'll hand it over to Carrie Torres.
We work well together, so yes.
I gave her the eye, she gave me the eye.
The impetus for the change, you may remember, trustees, is that we explored adjusting the T-Winkle bell schedule last year, and we did just that. Remember, our high schools were also changing their bell schedules due to legislative changes, and we took advantage of that moment with the T-Winkle staff who had an interest of going from 8:40 to about 8 o'clock. So in doing so, we ended up adjusting the start and the end times. And so now we have two schools that start within just a few minutes of each other. And so that was why the change occurred. And we've spent the time in the first months of school just evaluating what the traffic flow looks like and, of course, living the impact of that change.
And as far as families drop off and making it convenient for families so they don't have to do 2 trips and all that, is that also a consideration and all that? When
so are you talking about the proposed plan?
Right, the proposed plan.
So are you talking about a family that may have a California and a T-Winkle student?
Right.
So what the proposal is, without seeing what's happening today, is to have basically so there's 3 driveways. When you're coming from Geisler and you turn right on California, there's the first driveway coming out of T-Winkle, which is an exit. Then you get to the next driveway and it's an entrance only. And from the center driveway, the entrance only, you can either go straight and loop to the left for California or go to the right and loop around T-Winkle. But what happens on the T-Winkle side is the loop pushes them to the right, which is parking, and then they have to make a full circle to get to the curb drop-off, and then they have to circle back around to that parking area, and then they have to try to get out that first exit. And so what's happening is parents are coming into T-Winkle, they're turning right, and they're stopping in the drive aisle and the parking aisle, and they're just dropping off kids in the middle of the drive aisle because they don't want to have to do the loop and then wait for the parents who are dropping off kids in the middle of the aisle, right? So I know the staff was working really hard at trying to correct that. We were all out there, Carrie, John, everybody was out there trying to help the situation. But unless you go, grab the kid and say, no, get out, you're not getting out of the car, that's difficult. So, and then California goes straight in and loops around. And so the proposal is to have that first driveway be an entrance to T-Winkle, so then they hug the curb and they can pull up against the curb before they hit that parking area, and then they would continue to go forward and turn right and follow the California pattern. So they would stack out that way, and they would have a second opportunity. Let's say they came in the center drive aisle, because you wouldn't be able to come in the center drive aisle and turn right anymore. We would eliminate that, and you would only be able to go left and be in the California stacking area. So this would allow them to go out that direction, and then if you were a California T-Winkle parent, you could come in, drop your T-Winkle student off at the gymnasium, continue the loop, and drop your California student off, and then exit. So that's the proposal right now, but we want to see what's happening out there since the bell schedule has changed. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Sorry, I know I have a lot of
Yeah.
hand motions.
They help.
Yeah.
All right, so
Are
I'm
we
gonna,
also making sure to include the bus driver since T-Winkle is a largely
So
bus-driven
we
campus?
included transportation in the discussion to date. We definitely, Shelley and I get along really well, so we talk about a lot of things. So we will definitely continue to do that.
thank you. All right, may I get a motion?
Yes, I move to approve initial design budget for the parking lot project at California Elementary and T-Winkle Intermediate School.
Second. Been moved by trustee Crane, seconded by trustee Ursulou. Roll call vote.
Student Board Member Ethan Krause,
Yes.
Trustee Barto,
Yes?
Trustee Matoye,
Yes.
Trustee Crane,
Yes.
Trustee Anderson,
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou,
Yes.
Trustee Weigand,
Yes.
Trustee Yelsey.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Ara.
All right, now we move to discussion item 20A. Report on 2021-2022 Smarter Balanced Assessment.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, President Barto, Dr. Smith, trustees, student board members, families, staff, everyone who's waited this long. Thank you for holding out for the show. So before we get started, I'd also like to thank the team that got this ready because there's a whole village for this. And I want to thank George and his team for preparing all of the data, for the thought partners I have across the district in getting this data right, and for Gloria Rios, who makes this all doable. And hopefully she's not watching, so thank you. We understand that this is a lot of information. We have so many points of data in the district, as Dr. Smith mentioned earlier, that we take into account as we think about how our students are doing, and we focus our efforts and we focus the resources of the district, our talent, our time, our finances on where to address improvement efforts. And so this is a lot of information. This is one single point of data. It's important. It helps us kind of calibrate across the rest of the state and how we're doing. It's an important time, of course, for our institution and other public education institutions as we think about where we go next. And it does give us room for pause, but also hope for the future. I'll hand it over to George. We have a whole team presenting tonight.
It's tag team.
Lots of points of views.
Good evening, board. President Barto, Dr. Smith, cabinet, everybody, and Rosie.
Rosie gets a shout out.
So I wanted to start off just by saying part of the team that helped us build this was you. So I've appreciated so many comments from you as a board and questions that you had. And so we've developed a lot of what you see today based on what you said. And I appreciate your deep look into data. You're data people, and I like those kind of people. So thank you. Context. So context is critical, important. You might think an elephant is just a rope or a fan or a spear. You got to look at the whole thing, right? So let's look at some data facts in terms of this type of context. Part of the context we'll look at is what is the Smarter Balance test? What is it not? The Smarter Balance test is an accountability test that the federal government through ESSA, the Law of the Land for Education for the United States Department of Education, which is Every Student Succeeds Act, says that the states have to have some sort of an accountability test. And we chose the Smarter Balance test for English, language arts, and math. So it's not a college entrance test, although it has parts of it that is a college entrance, like the early assessment program that lets students into community colleges and Cal State schools. It's not a reading test per se, so it's not telling us grade level and things like that. We have that in STAR reading. It's an accountability test, a standards-based accountability test. How well our students perform, met or exceeded, nearly met and not met, given a set of standards that are tested on the Smarter Balance test. So just to keep that into context of what the test is and what it isn't. So in 2015 and to 2019, we had 5 years of consistent data for Smarter Balanced. So this data was the Smarter Balance Assessment, SBA as it's known. SBAC, if we were the consortium, we add that to it. But that 5 years of consistent data was well, it was the first time that we took the Smarter Balance was in 2014-15, and that remained consistent for 5 years. And I'll show you why that's important in a second here. On March 13th, that fateful day, the state mandated they mandated closures to our schools. So we all went home and learned from home. It was putting square pegs into round holes for most of us. It seemed like we pulled off the impossible. What that did to testing is it disappeared. All testing was suspended. We had no testing. In fact, most of my data sets just doesn't even conclude 2019, 2020. And online, when you go to look at it, it just doesn't include that year. There just isn't any testing. We had local testing, and we had plenty of that. But we tried to do less and less because the impact it had on the students. We didn't want to overstress them in an already stressful season. In 2021, we had a hybrid year. So we were in person for half the time, and we were online and asynchronous the other half of the time. The testing, the state standardized testing, Smarter Balance, was in math. We used the Smarter Balance for 3 through 8 and 11. English language arts, STAR reading, it was a local assessment. We used that for 3 through 8 because the state allowed us to do that to reduce the amount of testing that the students had to experience in that year. So we used a local assessment, which was welcomed, especially by 3 through 8. But 11th grade needed to use that one test that is for the college entrance to help those students, and we gave them that opportunity. So we used the Smarter Balance for math in 11th grade and the Smarter Balance in ELA. Okay, so that was the hybrid year. And in it, I kind of put 2 colors there so we can keep this all straight. So we got back to consistency. We recalibrated. The test in 2021 had a 50% reduction in the computer adaptive test. So the part that the computer could grade, they reduced it by 50%. Now, I think that was in the works already for the state of California, but they introduced it here because it gave less impact of testing on the students. And we will continue with that moving forward. But the psychometricians, the state, have said that you can compare scores from year to year moving forward. So those 5 years of testing here, 2015 to 2019, can still be compared to these tests. So we don't have to throw away everything. We can actually compare it, and we will continue to compare. But it is recalibrated. Okay, so we also had this impact. It was tragic for many students and 5th graders. They didn't take the test in 3rd grade and 4th grade. Middle school was almost disappeared here. So there was large impact for the students during that time. Some school reminders, Cloud Campus and Monte Vista School is the same school according to the state. So if you go onto DataQuest, and Socorro will show you a little bit more about DataQuest at the end, these schools are all one school. So CDM middle and high school is one school, Mesa middle and high school, Cloud TK through 12, and Monte Vista for the high school, they're all connected. So when you look at data, especially when you look it up online, and the public should know this, that they have to keep that in mind, that those schools are all the same. They combine all their scores. My team is able to break that out for the principals so that they can see their scores relative to other middle schools, let's say. So that's an advantage of having me and my team.
Job security.
So here is a context that is important because we compare ourselves to other unifieds in the school, in the county. Newport-Mesa has outperformed the state and the county for as long as I've been here, for 13 years. So this is the Newport-Mesa line, then you have Orange County because it's orange, and the state of California because it's yellow. These are the scores that came in this year. So this is 21, 22 scores, and anytime you see blue with the data sets that we use, that it means ELA. So there's blocks of school districts that I tend to think they kind of own this block, and they bounce back and forth, but rarely do they ever go below. And there's this middle group here. They bounce back and forth, and you can see how close they are most of the time. We bounce back and forth here between Saddleback, Tustin. Sometimes Garden Grove comes up. Sometimes we go above Tustin. So through the years, this is kind of where this group vibrates, where this group vibrates, and where this group vibrates below. But we always beat the state and county average. I show this to you just to say, the rising tide raises all boats. And that's what happened during this state mandated closures, is that this is about where we always land. Little bit of movements, but same thing with math. There's Newport-Mesa, and then Orange County, state of California, it looks almost identical. So, and again, we beat the county and the state. This is growth. This is where things change a little bit. You know, no one had the secret sauce during the state mandated closures during COVID. No one figured out how to put this square peg into a round hole, but they had different growth when you compare over 7 years. So here is the state and county, once again, Newport-Mesa and ELA, we're above both, same thing with math. But our growth is comparable to the upper end in both categories. We're a little bit above the middle, a little in the middle here. Some districts over those 7 years actually declined. We grew, maybe not as much as we'd like to. I'm here just to tell you what it is, not to give you my opinion on it. I wish we would have 100%, and I'm sure you do too. And maybe the growth isn't fast enough. And I think most of the educators in this district would say the very same thing. But we're growing, and that's the key. So I'm going to turn it over to Socorro, and I'll come back a little later.
Thank you. As many of you know, I'm new to the area, and so one of the things that was important for me as we think about relatively how we're doing is understanding who we are relative to other districts, because it's easy to make local comparisons. Oh, we're all in the same county, but one of the things the state taught us about a decade ago was thinking about who's similar. And as we think about who's similar, we think about size, we think about types of students that we serve. Someone mentioned vulnerable communities earlier, like who it is we're serving, and that's the way we think about who comparisons are, who real comparisons are in terms of how we should expect to do, who we might want to be and do better than, and all of those things. And so this was really important to me to include, to understand who we are as a district. CalPADS is a state level pupil system for data, and so when we report data, so this is a trusted source, this language of unduplicated is something the state has been using to note vulnerable populations. One of the things, the reason we use unduplicated is that they're counted once, because a student could be a member of multiple groups that cause them to have unique learning needs. And so this unduplicated count is a way to kind of level that out across the state and use that as a way to measure who's alike, who's different, who has these students and needs and unique learning opportunities in their districts. So you see us, one thing, George mentioned the order in which the districts are listed. You can see here when you see our size, when you see who has large numbers of unduplicated student counts, if you refer back to the others and the county comparisons, they land usually at a certain place in those ranks. And if you have low unduplicated students, low percentages in your population, you may be able to score higher. And this is consistent both in our county and across the state, this kind of inverse relationship to demographic data. And so we wanted to make sure that as we, as you as board members, as the public, as families and communities think about who we are and how we do, we understand how to make these comparisons in reasonable ways.
So
and
Coral,
then I'll invite.
would you
yes.
mind just listing what kinds of categories are in unduplicated?
Sure. English learners, so the state considers English learners, foster youth, and students from low-income families. Those are the big three that make up the unduplicated count. Also homeless students. We included migrant as well, but for the state unduplicated count, there are three key categories. English learners, students learning English as their second language or third or fourth, families below a certain threshold in income, and foster youth.
Thank you.
And I'm going to invite George back up. We always love putting pictures of our students, making sure we understand students and staff drive all of this, and they're the reasons kind of these scores exist.
Thank you. Okay, so this is the math scores. It's green. And like I said, over the last 5 years, this is consistent data, and I love me an arrow that goes up and to the right. Slow and steady growth. We'd love for that to be faster. We'd love for that to be higher. But we did make growth. And then we hit, which I think looks like a basketball, but we hit this giant wall in 2020, and all testing was suspended. We had a shorter test here. We had student experience in between this that was more than difficult. But we did have just a small percentage growth in math from 2021 to 2022. When I looked at the growth for the entire county from 19 to 22, not a single unified school district grew. Not one. Capo had like 0.6 or something like that in a decline, but nobody grew. It was clearly this impact. We had a little bit of growth here. So between here, but from here to here, nobody grew. So this dip is consistent through every
state.
Yeah, and it's likely through the entire state as well. So like I said, and I've been using this phrase, that rising tide lifts all boats. That's math. I think we can agree that up and to the right exists again. A little bit higher here in 2019. We're in the right direction. Had great hopes for this next year, and the next year probably should have been around here, but then we hit the basketball or the red wall once again, and all testing suspended. We used, we didn't have Smarter Balance here. We used a local assessment, the STAR reading assessment for 3 through 8, only 11th grade, but we can't compare 11th grade to the entire district and the other, so there was no data there. And then we landed on 58.61, so a decline from 2019 for sure. But I will let my colleague, John Drake, come and tell us what we're doing about it.
So again, just to draw our attention back to who we're serving and why we're all here. And before I jump into solutions, I have an enormous amount of gratitude of where we are right now. And that's really the result of all of the adults that serve our students and teachers to get the results that we're at right now. Again, not satisfied with them, but have already put plans in place to move us forward. So an enormous amount of gratitude for our principals getting us to this place of looking forward with mandated closures in the last couple of years and adjustments to the environments. All the directors in the room, all the assistant superintendents really have gotten us to a place to start looking forward. The other part of this, as I think George mentioned, Dr. Smith mentioned earlier, this is one data point from which I know publicly we're measured. But again, once we get the students up in front, we see there's many other results that are an outcome of the work that's being done in classrooms. Having said that, we started work prior to these scores coming out in putting a plan together to really address the priorities of our district to get back to and overcome and go beyond the outcomes we were getting prior to the state mandated closures and adjustments to the classroom environments. That work has been ongoing. So even before we got these scores, using local assessments, local conversations with principals and teachers, and then also taking direction from our priorities to get back to really some of the basics and focus our efforts in making sure that our students by third grade are reading. And so here are a couple of the things that we have jumped into to support our teachers in building their capacity around literacy. We started in our August PD days with our TK through second grade teachers really jumping into understanding how phonemic awareness plays, what role it plays in kids acquiring literacy, along with the other pieces, and also provided them some tools along with building their capacity around phonemic awareness, but provided them some training in a strategy and a program called Haggerty to be used on a daily basis to impact phonemic awareness in the classroom. Our third through sixth grade teachers really focused on complex text and giving kids access and tools to dig into and understand and make sense of the complex text that's put in front of them, and then use thinking maps within the classrooms to organize their thoughts in a way that they could then take those thoughts and put them into writing, which we know is probably the greatest indicator of reading comprehension. So organizing their thinking, really pulling out some of those deep ideas in the complex text and giving them tools to do that. So our TK through sixth grade teachers really received initial training in that. That training will continue November 1st and even beyond to make sure that we're addressing that. A letters training for all of our TOSAs and our full-time classroom reading teachers or in-class teachers. Letters is language essentials for teachers of reading and spelling. And this is a 2-year intensive training for these teachers to deepen their capacity around really all of the components of reading that need to be really tightly in place for kids to demonstrate literacy. So we have quite a few teachers in that.
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Oh, oops, you did it right. You go first.
Would you explain to the people who are here what phonemic awareness is and a bit of some of the tenets of what the science of reading are composed of?
Sure.
So people understand.
So the phonemic awareness is the letters or the sounds, the ability for kids to hear the sounds of words, right? To hear them individually, the individual phonemes, and as well as be able to segment them or bring them together. Along with that, if we think about all of those, all of the letters and sounds and how all of the different organizations of letters that make these different sounds, kids have to understand the phonics and the different blends that sounds make to form words. That's the initial part. Those are all of the components, and I'm sure I'm missing a few, but a foundational reading that kids really need to understand that letter, sound, blending, segmenting portion of reading so that they can then become fluent readers and concentrate on making sense of what they're reading. So between kind of kinder and second grade, that's when all of those foundational pieces have to be in place because we make that transition from learning to read to reading to learn. And so those are the big pieces. So starting with just that component of phonemic awareness and making sure that our teachers not only have strategies to provide kids the ability to understand and become aware of the sounds, they're also working on all the other pieces. But our focus has been just on phonemic awareness this year.
And this work is doing, I liken this to sharpening the saw. Our teachers come to us trained, and they're trained in a lot of these things, but we all need periodic refreshers to go, don't forget about this, or there may have been a new scientific way of doing something that we hadn't had before. But I just want to make sure that the public understands. Our teachers know the science of reading, and they're really good at what they do, but we all need to know, how do we take this child from where they are to the highest heights they can go? So this training all augments their good core.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, our teachers come out with this knowledge, but again, as they're working with kids, new ideas, new ways of going about it can come out, and these are just more tools for them to have in their toolbox. Along the same lines, we've continued to build the capacity, like I said, and refine our focus on literacy. With the mandated closures, we kind of had to step back and put on hold some of the regular trainings that teachers had access to, but we're back to those. There are monthly TK trainings for our staff around all of the different skills and optimizing the learning environment for developmentally appropriate approaches in our TK classes. Many of our SAI teachers, some of our special ed teachers, are also accessing Moonlight series of that letters training, so that they can also support their people. We also continue, while we are focusing some of our efforts at the end of August and beginning of November on thinking maps for our upper grade, we do have monthly and regularly scheduled kind of additional support for teachers to use thinking maps. So we're getting back to some of that ongoing training that teachers want alongside those district-wide days. The other thing that we have done, and this actually started in the fall of last year, is under the direction of Kathleen Leary and Lori Hernandez, have put together a group of principals, teachers, TOSAs, and district administration to really look at our P3 approach, our preschool through third grade approach to literacy, to really systematize and make sure that by third grade our systems are in place and tight, from assessment to core instruction to supplemental supports, as well as all the different tiers of instruction, that they're systematically put in place so that our kids are literate by third grade. That started last year before any of these assessments came out. Another piece that you're aware of, so that everybody's aware of, that we're actually starting earlier. We did jump into the kind of the state direction of TK for 4-year-olds over the next 4 or 5 years. And happy to say that, again, under Kathleen Leary's direction, I know Dr. Sir had a lot of play in this as well. We do have a TK classroom at every one of our elementary campuses, with the exception, obviously, of Kaiser, and we do not have one at Davis, since that is our magnet lottery school. But every other school has a straight TK, so we've already jumped into that pool, and we've actually almost doubled our enrollment to start serving those 4-year-olds. And by 2025, it will be a complete 4-year-old grade. All 4-year-olds will have access to that. And then one of the other pieces that we recognized, and really Dr. Smith has brought in lots of support and made sure that this becomes a priority, is to reconnect and expand the learning time for kids. While at the same time, like I said, reconnecting them to school. And we've done that in a couple ways. We've talked to you before under Lori Hogard and Lori Hernandez over this last year, have built a really incredible experience for kids in the summer that addresses their academic needs, while at the same time enriching and expanding their connection to school. It is a 9-hour day, and we did that for 20 days this last year. We'll do 30 more this year, and so that's been a huge lift for us. At the same time, we didn't just leave it in the summer. Dr. Smith challenged us again to start building the best expanded learning opportunities for kids during the school year, extending the school day to 9 hours, while enriching and supporting their academics. And Kathleen Leary has done really an amazing job with that in expanding that. We've gone from about 500 kids last year in our programs after school to over 750. And then with the addition of a rotating enrichment block for kids, an additional 700 will be joining that throughout the year. We have 9 sites running with these programs as well. And with that, I'll turn it on over to Carrie.
You're getting all of us tonight. So, good evening, everybody. And as John Drake said, we really have hit the ground running when it comes to recovery from these state mandated closures. And we're really proud of the work that we're doing in secondary. And one of the most exciting pieces about secondary schools is that there's multi-tiered dimensions to data and metrics within secondary schools, because we do a lot of different things as kids emerge into the older grades. But we've been doing a lot of work in mathematics. One of the greatest challenges for us as a school district and as a team is to ensure that our students are prepared and ready for something after high school, whether that's career, whether that's college, wherever they're going, they need to be prepared. And one of the data sets that's most interesting to us is mathematics. And so we've been doing a lot of work with our Director of Teaching and Learning, our principals, and our teachers centered around math. And so when we look at what are we doing to respond and act on behalf of our students and our math data, we've done a few things most recently. And one of those would be we have implemented a new algebra pre-teach class at all 4 of our high schools. Many of our students struggle in math once it leaves 6th grade. I say once math leaves 6th grade, because we go from arithmetic to computation to abstract. And once a student hits abstract mathematics, whether it's algebra or geometry or algebra 2, it's different. And some students kind of move into that a little bit more easily and others do not. And so we've been able to take a look at our data from our Algebra 1 classes and see who is struggling, and let's do a pre-teach class. And that has been successful, and we implemented our first sections of that mid-year last year. As a district, we invested in paper tutoring, which is an online tutoring resource that our students have taken advantage of. So students in any and all disciplines can jump online at their need and get help at any time, which is wonderful. And then also we're currently creating a pre-teach curriculum for Math 7. So again, trying to get to students as they're emerging from 6th grade to 7th and looking at that transition from arithmetic to computation to abstract, and creating some pre-teach resources for them and to see if that can help them learn more in algebra.
I had a question on that.
Yes.
Thank you. On the algebra, let me start at the bottom. On the pre-teach curriculum that you're moving forward, I know that 2 of our high schools have an 8-period day so that
Yes.
children, and 1 has 7. And so their opportunities are there. And the high schools, technically students start with a core of 6 periods. So my question is the algebra pre-teach class an add-on class, or does it take away the elective that a student has, which would defeat the purpose of us having all these elective opportunities?
Yeah, we try not to take away electives from students. We really try to fit it into their schedule. And for example, when we implemented the algebra class at the high school last year, we added it as an additional class.
Excellent.
So they didn't get anything taken away from them. Right now, we only have 1 of our middle schools, if I'm correct, with 6 periods. The others all have 7 or 8. And so there's quite a bit of flexibility in there to be able to add these types of interventions.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And that is important because we don't want to take away from students as well. But we know that some of our students definitely need some support. Additionally, again, John Drake stole my thunder earlier. Our teachers do a wonderful job. They come well-trained, and many of our teachers have invested in themselves and continue to do amazing things. But we continue to refine and sharpen our skills. And so a couple of additional actions that we've taken this year would be to contract with OCDE, and we have a math specialist who works with us, who we work in turn with our director, with our principals and our teachers to help us learn more about instructional pedagogy. We hold meetings with every site that includes a principal and department chair to really talk about the instructional strategies in math. and how are we delivering mathematics instructions to our students after we had most recently went through a math adoption, and we went to illustrative math, which is a different way of teaching mathematics, a little different than the way you and I learned. So our teachers are constantly getting new training and refinement on that. We've been working on listening and responding to student thinking, and that means more student talk in the classroom and teachers doing a lot more listening and a lot less talking, so students are being able to demonstrate and explain and communicate their thinking. Having many frequent team meetings with district math team professionals and departments to plan the priorities. So where are we going? And so we talk a lot with our school sites and our department chairs and teachers to ask those questions, and we bring them together to help inform the work. We have focused Algebra 1 guidance documents that really help teachers drive where they're going. Because, you know, content is this big, and we really have to help teachers be able to prioritize what they want to teach, because there's just so much out there that they could do. And so we've been working on that. And then just, you know, when we look at the August PD Day, and we have one coming up here, which is next week, oh my gosh, November 1st, we're going to continue to work and refine in some of these areas and provide additional professional development. Additionally, I just want to remind us that we have quarterly data meetings as well as the instructional team. So our high school principals, middle school principals, George, myself, our director of teaching and learning, we sit around the table and we start talking with schools about their local data every quarter. I had my first one today at Corona Del Mar. It was a great conversation with our local team, just really taking a look at what they're also dealing with above and beyond what you've seen tonight regarding SBA data, but grades, you know, chronic absenteeism rates, credits, all the other things that matter to us as well. Additionally, other things to consider here is all of our students who are enrolled in Math 7 through Algebra 2 will take a benchmark assessment. So we're really proud of this moment, because benchmark assessments in mathematics is a challenge, and we had not yet mastered it, but we started our first one last year. This year we have 2, and we're thrilled to be able to say we'll be able to measure student progress now more accurately throughout the year in these courses. And so we will eventually have 3, but right now we have 2, and we're really excited to be able to have that. And we have one coming up very soon, and then you'll have another one in March. Math teachers will be reviewing benchmark data on that November 1st day. And that's the power of the PLC model and the collaboration, discussion of data to be able to understand where you move instruction forward. District office and our principals meet in zones, and we talk about data, and that, again, data, we have SBA data, but we also have, again, what courses are students taking, how are they performing in those courses, what are the challenges that they're facing. And then again, one of the other exciting things that we've done is we added a data science class that has been introduced as an alternative to Algebra 2 that is also A to G qualified. So a student who might be a little fearful of taking Algebra 2 or not as confident could take data science, and it still qualifies as A to G math course.
What is
and this
that?
Data science is kind of what it sounds like, a little bit more about
I kind of think it's like statistics, but
it's a little bit of that, a little bit of 21st century coding mathematics, not as much algebra. So if you can think of it that way. So Algebra 2, you all remember what Algebra 2 looks like. Our data science is a little bit of a deviation from that. And we have had, let's see, this is our first
more
full
relevant
year.
to our technology
Yes,
and needs for the future. Okay.
It's a more applicable mathematics to industry.
Less abstract, like
less abstract,
basically,
yes. And
yeah.
so it's just something that students feel that they can attain potentially a little bit better. This is our first year where we have 3 sections of it at our high schools, and next year we'll be adding it to Corona Del Mar. So we intend to have it everywhere. And we'll also be able to see how students do this year. So that's another piece of data we'll be looking at. But it's good to have options in that 3rd year of math. And then additional, we are taking a look at additional in the schedule courses for Math 100, which would be our dual enrollment opportunities for students who would like to get their first level math out of the way while they're with us. And that would be able to help them not have to take remedial math if they ended up in the Cal State system and or the community college.
Those Exciting math stuff.
Yeah, just a lot of options for students, and that's what we find really provides success with secondary students is options. Additionally, just focusing, we did not forget about our English language arts, but we are also taking the listening and responding to student thinking into the English and social science domains. Again, eliciting students' discussion around topics, that's really important, and being able to have more student voice in the classroom. Focusing on language routines, you heard Socorro talk about our demographic data and the fact that we have a population of English learners. The best way to acquire English is to use it and to use that language in the classroom and practice oral routines. We do that as well. And then again, we have aligned professional development throughout the year in all of these areas. And then who could forget if you were at Battle of the Bay, and you're going to be at Battle of the Bow this weekend, I hope. But, you know, we're back, you know, in school connectedness, you can't not recognize how important that is to the school setting, particularly the secondary school setting. There's just so many activities and ways for students to feel a part. You heard that tonight in our student voice tonight and the student speakers that we had of how important all of the clubs and activities are to the different groups of students. And so we are definitely back. A few other things I'd like to mention in closing for my part would be we do so much more than SBAC when we prepare our students to leave us. And a couple of things to consider is college readiness. So we're preparing our students for some to go to college, and we look at our A to G rate, which is our college eligibility data set, and we're doing such a tremendous job in that area. We have students who are going to universities, colleges all over the world, not only here, but they travel abroad, and they're getting accepted into tremendous institutions. And we continue to work towards increasing that goal for all of our students. We have students who take advanced placement exams. One of the assumptions that I made coming into this when we were emerging from these state-mandated closures was that maybe our AP scores would have dipped. And the reality is they actually increased. And so we're really proud to say that we have seen an increase in our advanced placement scores across the board, with Estancia knocking out of the park for themselves and having the highest rate of passage on a 3 that they've ever had. Wow. And so you know, we have really been able to gain some wins here that go above and beyond the state metrics. Additionally, we have CTE pathways, which students are involved in, which are very powerful and connect students to career. And then we have career internships that are booming, and we continue to add to those groups of students. All of those factors kind of calculate into our career and college index, which eventually the state of California will eventually give us again. But those continue to help us increase that metric as well. And finally, John Drake talked about summer school and the summer expanded learning opportunities that elementary got to have. And we too in secondary did something similar. While we didn't have cute plays and dances, we did recover 3,600 credits. And so when you think about secondary school students who are struggling and emerging from that time in their space and their learning, managed to recover 3,600 credits
Wow.
district-wide. So that is definitely a metric that the state won't give us credit for, but we absolutely need to recognize.
Yes.
Own it.
That's fabulous.
And we just wanted to also bring it back to things that are happening across the district. Not only do we have our uniqueness of elementary and secondary, but we also have a harmony across the district in terms of these advancements. And as John Drake said about coming back, like returning these efforts of assessment locally that matter to us, these indicators that matter to us. How do we make sure we're improving as a system? What are the things we need to alter during the course of the year? These are all coming back online. You heard Carrie talk about a lot of the efforts that are happening in math and other subject areas at the secondary level. You heard John talk about the efforts of early reading, looking at diagnostics and screeners and other types of assessments that are happening throughout the year. We just want to make everyone aware that we understand that we don't wait till the end of the year to make changes in our programs and what we're doing, and kind of look at where we need to direct more resources and more supports for our outstanding staff, both in the classroom and other support staff. So that's going on all year, as well as really back to fortifying our knowledge about who our students are, including expertise working with multilingual learners, understanding their unique needs, what it means to be learning a second language or third language, and how we do that in the classroom with intention. As George mentioned, this data is public. You could Google, thank you Google for making everything possible. You can Google Data Quest and this will come up. You can find us by searching the level and the subject area that you want to look at. Any parent, any community member, anybody can do this. This is open to the public. There are those small caveats to think about our district in terms of some of the schools are 712s, those type of unique items. But this is available for anyone. This is different data than the dashboard with the colors that we spent years trying to figure out what is all this, what does it mean? That is coming later, that hopefully is coming in early December. This rolls into that and helps color and place the district, schools, everyone on that, but this is not that. That's next. And then we just really want to acknowledge, and I think you've heard that throughout the presentation, where we are is not good enough. We want to continue to improve. We know that has to happen for all of our students, all of our schools and families. And so it is a continuous process to get better, to think about where we are, to look at data, to understand our resources, and work together to figure out, problem solve, and look forward in advance. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I do want to just bring your attention. There are some information slides at the end. We weren't going to spend necessarily a lot of time on them, but John mentioned that our enrollment has nearly doubled in TK. These are some facts around our TK program. And then some of the AP data that Carrie referenced as well is also in there for people who like that sort of data thing. So thank you for your time. Thank you for caring about the students of the district and how they do, and for trusting the professionals who are in the classrooms and schools with them every day. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. That was a lot of work and very in-depth. Thank you very much.
Don't give us papers and say don't read them.
And I just appreciate the attention to detail and the different data points. I know that, that we had a couple rough years there. So thank you very much for all the teachers who really supported us through all of that. Trustee Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. I had a couple of questions or things that stood out to me. One of the things that I thought was interesting was that we actually now only have about 3,000 students that are designated English learners, which is dramatically lower than it was even 5 years ago. So I'm interested to see, I know a lot of that has to do with rent and people moving out of our area, but I'm interested to see this specific chart with maybe 2018 or 19, just to see those numbers would be really interesting, as well as homeless students. I know we had about 99 homeless students before the pandemic, and now we have nearly 700. So I would just love to see what those numbers are. One of the things I know we've talked often about math, and I know that some students are taking advantage of paper and doing the online tutoring. But as somebody who struggled with math myself, I needed somebody to sit with me and do math to help me catch up. So I'm wondering, I've heard from some students that they would like some in-person opportunities. So I'm wondering if we can add more specifically for our upper elementary kids, but also our middle school students, because I think oftentimes we do that at high school, but we're not doing it early enough. So I would love if we can maybe see if there's interest. I think there would be. And then I was also wondering too about, I love that you guys are doing the quarterly kind of data conversations with secondary, and I know at times Whittier has been involved with Ensign having conversations about what does math look like. And I was just wondering if we're doing that with other subjects. Are we doing that with social studies? Are we doing that with English language arts? So the 5th and 6th grade teachers really have targeted information that they know this is what your student will need in 7th and 8th grade. Because I know in the past that wasn't necessarily happening, and I think that's huge, particularly now, because some students have really accelerated and some students have fallen behind. And then lastly, I'm really interested in the Math 100 and the possibility of doing something like that. I know I had several friends at OCC that took Math 100 about 4 times, and it was holding them back. So I was just wondering what it said we're considering it. What is the consideration? Is that like in 3 years? What does that look like? Thank you.
I'll respond to those if that's okay. In terms of tutoring, I would like to comment that we do have tutoring available at some of our school sites, and we do offer it to teachers as an extra earnings at some of our schools. And in particular, for example, at T. Winkle, we just finally got some teachers to sign on to do some tutoring. So we're excited about that. I could always get back to you on exactly where and how many hours we're planning on doing that.
Thank you.
In terms of excuse me, collaboration. We started that last year with Whittier to look at math. That was kind of our focus with Whittier, Ensign, and Harbor with their math department. I think Sarah gave me her cough. Excuse me. And we're also doing it this year with foreign language between Estancia and T. Winkle. So we have not gotten to every single department or discipline just yet, but that's where we've started the work just in the last 12 months. And then in terms of Math 100, those are conversations we're having with the community college partner that we have with Coastline. And we're trying to figure out how we can put that into our schedule and where it would fall. But we want to be able to provide that as an option for students to kind of get them a jump start. So it's something that we just started talking about this year, so since July. So if we were going to do it, we would have our first test class would either be in summer or in fall of next year.
Awesome. Thank you.
And just to add a few quick things in relation to data conversations, there are actually starting this next month, our team is planning monthly data conversations with our principals at our monthly principal meeting. And that data will vary primarily, especially with our focus on literacy. I think it'll be around language arts and mathematics, but we can look at some of the other subject areas as well. And then I do know while our expanded learning, programs and opportunities for kids before school and after school are in full swing and, are continuing to get better. As we get better, one of the things we are looking at, trying to do is see if there are some teachers, because the idea behind these expanded learning programs, especially at our 9 sites that they're currently going at, is to just extend and expand the day. And if we can interest some teachers to come, even if it's twice a week, 3 times a week for an hour or 2 after school, to provide some of the targeted support they know their students need, we are definitely interested in that. Once we get all the enrichment, all those things kind of really dialed in, I think that will be a next step for us in relation to that tutoring or additional support for our kids.
Thank you. Yeah, I wouldn't want too much time to go by. I know we're trying to make up, and I love that we're doing a lot of the enrichment, but I think there's some students that just need the intervention dramatically as well. So thank you.
Trustee Ursulou.
Thank you so much for that presentation. It was really great, and thank you so much, staff, for meeting with each and every one of us about data. So I can't imagine how burdensome that was to deal with all of our questions independently. So I just have 2 observations that I'm just more curious about. It's not anything earth-shattering, but it's not really about what Newport-Mesa is doing wrong, but more what is Placentia Yorba Linda doing right? Because we'd expect an inverse, relationship between the data that's on page 10 and 11 to be inverse to the unduplicated count on page 14. But there's only one outlier, and it's Placentia Yorba Linda. So I'm just curious, what are they doing so well? If anyone knows, not for right now, but they've clearly got the lock on something, because they have about 12 points more of low-income kids than we have, yet they're outperforming us. So everything else makes perfect sense except that one. So I just didn't know if anyone has inside school, but another day that can be a discussion, because it was just super interesting. And then the other item I noticed was just, again, another correlation that I'm not sure what to make of, but maybe it shows us something. The the average number of AP exams that the average these kids are taking for CDM and Mesa, it averages about 2 AP tests per kid, but for Estancia and the other one, Newport Harbor, it's averaging 1.5. So I'm just wondering if that's because those first two are tied to a high school, so those middle schoolers get to take more electives early on. Then by the time they get up through high school, there's, taking more APs and then taking more AP tests. Because those are the two schools that are on the block schedule, whereas you look at Tewinkle and Ensign have less electives and they're not on a block schedule. And I'm wondering if that's impacting the amounts of AP exams that those kids are taking. So that, again, was just an interesting correlation, but I don't know what to do with it, but it just seemed to jump out at me. So thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing.
One of the things with Newport Harbor is that they have the IB program. So a lot of kids that would be taking AP classes are taking IB courses, so they don't double up for the most part. So that could explain that one, but I totally agree with you that it does make it easier to really give a full-bodied program when you have a 712 campus and all that extra enrichment that comes in early. I agree.
Trustee Wigan and then Trustee Yelsey.
I have a couple questions on, and just if Dr. Drake, if you could elaborate on some of the things that we're doing in the elementary about, just for the public, about our reading intervention teachers and how many we are funding for each school, and talk a little bit more about how we're singling out those students that need that service, so that we're not just waiting until like a parent-teacher conference or whatever, to make sure that we are really targeting those individuals that need it, and the amount of money that our district has put forth with reading specialists in each school.
Yeah, I think what I'd like to do is ask Lori Hernandez to come on up and help me with that question. What I do know, and Vanessa Gailey, Special Projects, has done a great job to make sure that resources are allocated to each of our sites for additional support in the areas of reading, mathematics, with the main focus in reading. And I think I'd like to ask Lori to kind of talk about some of the systems in place at sites to make sure that we're targeting those needs of kids with the supports that we're providing.
I brought a friend, so she can explain the numbers and funding sources of those people first.
Yes. So at each of our elementary sites, we have a full-time support teacher, and those teachers are funded through our ESSER funding, our federal funding, and that's to the tune of just under $3.5 million. Then, we have a lot of additional support. So at our Title schools, at our Title I schools, we also have an additional full-time support teacher, and those teachers are funded from District Title I. At all of our Title I schools, they have allocations based on their student poverty count, and they have a budget then that they can decide what to do. So some of those schools have additional part-time hourly teachers. A couple of them have what's called a 0.6 or a 0.8. It's just more time in the work week. And then also we have local control funding formula funds that support a 19.5 hourly teacher at each of our schools as well. So at this year, every single school at the elementary level gets a full-time support teacher, a part-time support teacher, and then our Title schools get additional one full FTE on top of that. And we really are targeting our support for them professionally, the full-timers in particular, by this letters training that Mr. Drake mentioned earlier.
And is that more, sorry, just to ask again, is that more than what we did before COVID state mandates?
Yes, definitely.
So just to address the question, there's several layers to it. So one is just as a district, district-wide, we use screening tools to measure students' progress, really targeting reading development. So we screen the kids at different points throughout the year, identify those children that may be at risk for difficulties learning to read. Then those are the kids that we really dig deeper on and figure out, is it a phonemic awareness issue? Is it a fluency issue? What is that issue that that child is having? Because these are kids that are before the age of the CASP, which starts in 3rd grade, right? So we're even looking at kindergartners, not at the start, right? Because kindergarten, we need to get to know them first. And then we start to say, are they mastering their letters and sounds? Are they mastering, can they rhyme? Can they identify beginning sounds, ending sounds? So a lot of that work is done at the local level. So our teachers have, when their kids are released early, like on Wednesdays, teachers have time to meet in PLCs, meet with each other, look at kids across their grade level, identify those kids that maybe need support. And we've been working with our principals to design schedules for all of these support staff. So a child in second grade, we don't want that child pulled out of their core instruction to get that remediation, because then it creates like a Swiss cheese effect. Right now they're missing that second grade content. So really working strategically to help our principals create schedules that allow for maybe that support staff goes into second grade at a particular time in the day when everyone is getting what they need. And then they're targeted in first grade at a different time of the day so everyone can get what they need. So it's kind of a combination of us providing some of that centralized guidance and support, but then also at the local level, them having that decision-making autonomy for how to use those people. So like we're training all the support teachers in the letters. You know, we really want them to be experts on working with kids that maybe having difficulties learning to read. But we have some sites where they have more of a need in math, and we've allowed that autonomy at some of our sites that maybe they're seeing less kids with difficulties in a certain area, more maybe in math, or maybe they're more targeted in the upper grade. So the decision of where those teachers work is somewhat up to the teachers and their staff in their PLC process, but then we do centrally support that. And our whole elementary ed team goes out, meets with teachers. I'm going tomorrow to a site to have data meetings with a principal and some teachers. So we're constantly providing more individualized supports. Because you know the difference of across our 22, including Cloud 23 sites.
Right. It seems like it would be hard for a kid to fall through the cracks with those types of systems, hopefully.
We're hoping and we're strengthening those systems, you know, every month and every opportunity we have as a team to learn more about how, you know, kind of how to assess what's happening and then fill those gaps. That's what we're really working toward right now. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And then I had a other question. I think it's about the test results. When did parents get their own? And I don't think it's for you. It's maybe more Assistant Superintendent Shields. When did parents get their own students' results, and have we heard any information from the parents concerned about their results or anything like that?
They would have come home. They would have come to them over the summer, and I'm not aware of any. And we can double check with principals, but I'm not aware of any parents who have come to sites with questions or concerns or things like that.
Trustee Yelsey and then Trustee Crane.
Thank you. Excellent report by everybody, and it's clear that you put a lot of work into it. You listened to all of us, met with all of us, so much appreciated. And I appreciate that you also mentioned that, yes, we do need to improve. There is a lot of room for improvement, but you do have a plan in place, and I think it's pretty detailed of where you're going and benchmark assessments by you and for the kids. And then when George first got up here, he talked about the Smarter Balance Assessment, that it is just one data point. And I think that in today, meaning the last week or the last month, and people expected these scores to come out, and they're hearing, oh, scores went down, we're failing our kids. I think we have to keep that point in context, because I don't think we're failing our kids. This was one data point. And before 2014-15, when we started the Smarter Balance Assessment, we've always had standardized tests. When I first was on the board, it was a standardized test that brought along No Child Left Behind, and we were meeting at schools all the time to see what are we doing to bring those kids up. But that's still one data point that we were looking at. So I think it's real important that we look at that. And your question of has anybody contacted the district about their child's individual scores came out this summer. I know I haven't received any calls, and I get calls about lots of things that happen. I have not heard of any other school board members getting calls from individual families saying, oh my gosh, my child is failing. What are you doing to help with this? Because I think they see the other metrics that we're using within our schools to help our children and what they're being tested on. And especially in high school, I appreciate you putting in that AP information in the back of the report, because to me, what's more important for kids, our students who are graduating in high school, they want to be in the best place they can when they graduate. And I think every single one of our schools prepares any of our students for a life after high school that they want. Anyone who's motivated and wants to work hard and they have this dream of going to an Ivy League school, if they have that dream, they have the resources to get there. If they want to go to a big school that has a great football team and just all-around college career, they have the ability to do that. If they want to go to a UC school, our kids get into every UC school in California. So private schools, public schools all over the country, we see them going there all the time. And what I think concerns me, and I think other board members, is people look at this and we've failed our children, and we're not failing them. And I know the state, I'm not sure exactly when this is going to happen, but the state will be providing a college and career index, if they haven't already, that will include an index of collaborations with AP scores, IB scores, career technical education, seal of biliteracy, college credit for community colleges that they get. And we need to look at all that along with where our kids are being accepted. And we're doing pretty well in all those aspects. So I think we all should be very proud of this. And those people who are listening to the outside chatter of we failed our kids, I don't think they know what's going on. And I would urge anyone who wants to go visit a school to make an appointment with the principal. Any one of us would go to any school with them and walks through some of these classes and just see on an average day what these kids are learning in our high schools. We saw kids here today speak better than I think any of us could possibly
So
do
articulate.
up here tonight.
So-
And we produce pretty amazing kids, and I'm proud of every one of them.
Sitting next to one right now.
Yes. Thank you for being here.
Trustee Crane and then Trustee Matoye.
Yeah, and I do believe that parents were expecting a learning loss because of COVID. And what we also need to realize as a community is that it's not just Newport-Mesa, it's nationwide. I was reading an article in EdSource on October 13, and the title was, ACT test scores dropped to lowest in 30 years in pandemic slide. Scores on the ACT college admissions test by this year's high school graduates hit their lowest point in more than 30 years. The latest evidence of the enormity of learning disruption during the pandemic. The class of 2022's average ACT composite score was 19.8 out of 36, marking the first time since 1991 that the average score was below 20. So we're not alone, but what we do know is that we're not going to give up on our kids. We can always do better, and as tonight's presentation by our staff, we're on it. And we all care, and we will do our best possible. Every single adult in this district will do that. Your kids are in good hands. Thank you.
It's one of those things where we are all looking, going, well, that happened. Now let's go forward and let's pick it up and move on. And I just wanted to mention that, along with Mrs. Yelsey, you heard our students tonight. You hear our student board members regularly. The kids are all right. And if you really want to check and see how they're doing, look at our graduation rate. Our graduation rates are above 90% at every single high school. And early college high school consistently has 100% graduates. That means that when you come in as a freshman, you leave as a graduate. And when you graduate, we've had so many comments too that say, well, not every kid needs to go to college. No, they don't. And our kids go on to become certified carpenters, culinary arts experts, EMTs. They get jobs. And speaking as a mother of 5 children, that job one is the most happy one that you ever get. It's when you say, all 5 of my kids have jobs and are functioning. That's a good thing. And our kids are proud. Our kids come back to their schools and thank their teachers. They could be thanking their kindergarten teacher, but I know they're in high school telling all their high school teachers most of the time, thank you for doing this for me. You have no idea what a great district this is. And I just want to echo everyone else. Thank you, team, for putting together such a fabulous report. It really is terrible when we look at something and go, we worked so hard and this is the number that we got. It's like being on a diet. I can work like crazy, and when I stand on the scale, the numbers just don't show what I've done for my body and in my health. So that's how I look at some of these SBAC scores. It's
But
the
you
one
don't
day.
give up.
Oh, I don't give up. Absolutely not. It's like I wake up in the morning and then eat a banana.
Try again.
That's it. So thank you very much.
And I just echo what all the other trustees said, but one thing I've really been impressed by is our plan for going forward, because we're in conference week for elementary school, and I'm seeing that with my own students and with friends, students. I'm seeing that with my middle school and high school students. A lot of their friends were struggling with different things, English, math, and these targeted interventions are really helping them. Walking around talking to students, they feel more confident in math than they ever have before, and it's all of these wonderful programs that you guys are putting into place. So I am most intrigued to see after conference week is done how that data kind of reflects, because just personally I have a student who's dyslexic, and he was able to progress just in these last 2 months in ways that I hadn't seen him progress in 2 years. And I really think that's all of the creative ways you guys are approaching addressing different students' needs. So thank you very much. Excellent. All right, now we move to informal reports.
So since we're on this thanking people band here, I want to draw attention to the gratitude my team has for our board. I wasn't here 30 days, and you challenged us with the priority to improve our outcomes, not based on the prior year, mind you, from 2019. After a 5-year trend of data in the right direction, you ask us tough questions, and you provide us the support from the dais we need to make the improvements that we're absolutely going to realize in every classroom in this entire district. I've done this work a long time. I don't know I've ever seen a group so focused on that goal and asking the right questions and providing the necessary support. So thank you all for that. I want to thank everybody that participated in the State of the Schools. The feedback has been humbling in its positivity. And the thing that I love most is people said students were front and center. Mm-hmm. That's as it should be. Students should be front and center of everything we do. It was the motivation that so many people in that audience needed to move forward in support of our schools. To our labor allies, just be on notice. You're doing it again next year. So some of you got told right before that you're going to do it. Apologies, but you did a great job. And what I heard Stu say tonight was he's doing so well in his speaking that he's going to fill in for me now. So I can ask him, because everyone's complimenting how great a job he did. But really, to everybody, thank you for everything. Our students, our school, our staff getting that campus ready. They were painting that morning, making sure that we put our best foot forward. Thank you for that. The facilities study session we just had, we didn't have a lot of folks there. I just want to thank the board for, again, asking the questions, the team for putting that together, and let you know that this board is committed to hearing the feedback of all of our community members. And sometimes they come in after they've had that chance to provide feedback, but we always encourage them to send us emails, to call us, to come see us. And I want the community to know when they do that, we report back to the board. And in that vein, one of the topics that came up after our meeting was that we ought to consider having an ad hoc committee made up of, and this was echoed by some of the trustees, some of the city members from both cities, some of those youth groups, right, some of our allies, and get in a room and say, hey, what do you think about facilities use and associated fees, et cetera, and do that work and then bring that back to you at the appropriate time to make those decisions. And really, really appreciated that concept. And even last week at our city meeting, we started to do some of that with Costa Mesa. We'll do it on a larger scale with both. So wanted to thank them for that. I continue to be in the community, had a chance to be with the distinguished citizens in Newport Beach. They don't call themselves that. That's the name of the program. And several of them were community members, and they always ask questions in the end or make comments. 3 of the 4 comments were about their continued support for our focusing on the whole child especially mental health and wellness. That's what's on the mind of parents, and they're saying, please do more to help in that regard. They certainly weren't politicizing that very, very essential work. I wanted to bring that feedback to you. And then finally, and they stole this again, Lisa, thank you. You made this shorter for me. I am now meeting with PTA and doing coffee chats in each of the zones and inviting people that can't get to the Harbor Council to come here, wherever here is, have a coffee and share what they want for their students and what they're seeing in our schools. And I'll bring that information back to all of you. So that's it for me.
Thank you. I'm going to go first and work my way down.
Okay.
And I'm sure many of you will have the same because I feel like I've seen every one of you every day this week. It's a very busy time for Newport-Mesa. We have the Newport Harbor Alumni Hall of Fame, which was delightful, and so thankful we don't live in the 80s because apparently there was an epic 5-hour-long food fight that resulted in 200 children being suspended.
Oh my.
So really grateful we're not back then. And
Don't give us any ideas.
It's a good thing the kids are gone.
Yes. And just hearing some of the very impressive graduates who have come from Newport-Mesa over the last 50 years and how they've given back and continued to support and the multiple generations of families who love Newport-Mesa and Newport Harbor. It's been really fun attending Battle of the Bay for volleyball, girls volleyball for Newport Harbor football and CDM. And the track dedication for Coach Summer was really powerful, hearing from our students how a coach who continues to work with our students has impacted their lives and continues to impact the lives of so many. And then last but not least, played some golf with our other trustees in support of Newport Harbor Athletic Foundation. It was a labor of love because I'm a terrible golfer, but I had a great time. And then finally, I'll be attending the Julius Caesar play this weekend. Very excited to do so. My son loves learning Latin on Duolingo, so he cannot wait to go with me.
Et tu, Brute. Et tu, Brute. Thank you. I missed a lot of the things that I would have had to go to. I finally got to have COVID. Yay! I was so proud of being a Novid, but now I'm just with everyone else, and that's all great. But I missed so many things the week that I was out, week and a half, 10 days, however many, long time. But I did join trustees Anderson and Ursoilu at the Costa Mesa Liaison meeting. We missed you, but Mrs. Torres did a wonderful job. Thank you very much. And Dr. Mrs. Torres. Assistant Superintendent of Secondary Education. Yes, Carrie was there, and she did a really nice job. I just wanted to emphasize the fact that the joint use agreement was brought up, and the comment was, let's have an ad hoc committee. We need to get together to get it started before it comes to us because it's detailed, and then it comes to us. We can always pitch in at any time because we all now have a copy. I was joined by Trustee Anderson at the Estancia Ring ceremony for the 2022 state champion baseball team. What impressed me the most, other than the fact that Estancia? What did I say?
You didn't say this.
Oh, at Estancia High School. What impressed me the most, while there were wonderful speeches and we got great videos of some fabulous plays, but seven of the boys graduated already, and they were all there. And that's how important this win was. And the coach, who was Coach of the Year by CIF, mentioned to them, as did Mayor Stevens, you will remember this the rest of your life. These teammates will be yours forever. So when we talk about all the other opportunities our kids have besides math, English, science, and social studies, this is the thing. That's why I was concerned about electives, because I want to make sure those things don't get left out, because some of our kids, that's why they go to school. I'm going to be at the Battle of the Bell, because I missed Battle of the Bay. And then while this is not a discussion action item, I wanted to mention that thank you to our board members for appointing me as the Personnel Commissioner for the next 3 years. I am replacing Ken Wayman, who is retiring this year, who served on the Personnel Commission for 20 years. Now, I'm not looking to serve for 20 years, so that's okay. But I would like to acknowledge his service at our next board meeting. So good, I didn't want to just bring it up to Dr. Smith and not talk to us. Everybody nodded. So he definitely deserves that accolade because that's a long time. It's a very important commission.
It's a yes.
It's an unsung. So, and with any luck at all, I'm done. You know how I am. I think of something later.
Attended a lot of the events mentioned by Trustee Bartow and Metoyer, but also went to the East Bluff Elementary STEAM Night. And I wanted to do a special thank you to the Newport Beach Fire Department. They are so wonderful coming to the schools, and they bring their fire trucks. And one of the biggest attraction of the night was the firefighters dropping the egg drop all the way down to the ground to see if it smashes. And it was just so fun watching the kids, but also watching the adults, the firefighters, dropping the eggs from the top of the ladder. So thank you, Newport Beach Fire Department. Went to the Hall of Fame at Newport Harbor, the dedication, the track dedication, the Estancia ring ceremony. Wanted to thank the Harbor Council PTA for hosting the candidate forum. That was a great service to the community. It was probably 100 and some people there. That's great. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to attending the Back Bay Monte Vista Fall Fair next week. And I just was so impressed by our young adult students who were so articulate and so passionate and brave to stand up and voice their opinions, because that's what we're all about. So that was amazing. Thank you to all the students who are up here sharing their thoughts. And lastly, Stu may be threatening your position, Jeff Trader, as the MC of the Teacher Recognition Award, so beware. Is Stu here? He's not.
I don't know. Stu has a gold coat. I mean, that's part of the pizzazz. I just want to say thank you to our superintendent for really listening and hearing us when we were bringing up concerns specifically about joint use. So something that I'd never seen the document. And it sounded like an intractable issue. And so I just really appreciate the opportunity to have a study session and then a follow-up conversation with the city. I think it's a really great opportunity for us to continue to be good neighbors and have joint use parks and open up some of our playgrounds, hopefully. I'm also going to be attending Battle of the Bell with a former fellow Estancia student whose son is on the starting team. And then going to the fall festivals at Whittier and Wilson and trunk or treats at the others. I'm also really excited tomorrow to celebrate those that retired from our district in the past few years. I think it was something that I know I had a few people reach out to me and say, I didn't get to come to a celebration. It would really mean a lot to me. So I'm glad that we are able to do that tomorrow. That's it.
And similar to other folks, we were at the city meetings and then the youth sports meetings where we're just always giving props to Lance for getting our facilities in line. And he's just doing magical work, not only with Ada getting the pool at Newport Harbor, but also working on the PA system for the pool at Estancia as well. So there's a lot of excitement going on in facilities, so very enthralling. Also, I want to give a shout out if anyone has canned goods they would like to drop off at California Elementary until this Friday to help Girl Scout Troop 8485. Please do so promptly. You have, in like 12 hours from now, you can go do it. So that's exciting. There's a play coming up at Estancia, Little Women, so hopefully in mid-November. Many of you will go and see that as well. And I think that's all I have. I had a really fun time earlier this week talking to the AP research class over at Estancia. Ms. De Los Santos has an awesome group, so I helped the kids with their research questions and methodology, which was, again, super riveting, but it was a good time, and it was really good to get to talk to the kids and hear the kinds of things that they want to research, because it's super fascinating. So that's all I have for now, but California, drop your canned goods, California Elementary, until this Friday. Troop 8485.
And drive any way they have to.
Drive however you need to get there because it's a hot mess, but it's going to be fixed. It'll be better.
You do pickup service.
Yes.
I will pick them up. Well, by the time it gets down here, we've probably attended all the same things, so it's been great. One thing I'll have to say is thanks to the teachers for conference week this week and spending the extra time with our students. I know that they're scheduled for 15-minute sessions, but you know, a lot of times they go over. And I think I've talked to a lot of parents and been so thankful for the amount of time that they've had with their students this week, or time with the parents talking about their students this week. And the flexibility that you can do it online or in person has been really, really good for a lot of parents that have to shuffle many different roles as parents and workers and, you know, all that kind of good stuff. As well, the Battle of the Bay probably didn't go as well as the Harbor Zone wanted. But it was still great nonetheless, and there's always next year, as everyone says. But it's just been really great also to see the whole cabinet there. That was really amazing. So hopefully we can all see everyone at the Battle of the Bell. And last year was my first Battle of the Bell game, and Mesa won, and they brought out the bell, and it was going to be this big, big thing. They brought out the bell, and it goes ding.
I know.
It's the most anticlimactic bell.
I think we should work on getting a new bell.
Yeah.
I think that's our next project.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you also for this presentation today on the test scores. It's great to see how we're performing and see what we're doing to make our kids and students that much more great in the community.
Okay, I have almost nothing left, but I will just talk a little bit more about some of the things. One, the Battle of the Bay, CDM came out victorious for the 10th year in a row.
Decade of
but I know Newport Harbor has a lot of other Battle of the Bay successes this year, so you know it evens out. And there is a Battle of the Bay flag football game tomorrow, the first one. At 6 o'clock at CDM. Girls flag football. Yes. So anyone interested, it should be a good game. And then as part of the weekend celebration with Coach Sumner's track dedication, it was part of the CDM Jubilee. And this was a year in the making. They've been planning this for a year, a core group of alumni and current parents who are there. And what they wanted to do with that was create an alumni foundation, so that an alumni endowment, so that they can raise money to invest every year to pay for things that they need on an ongoing basis. And they're well on their way of doing that. But as part of the day the Jubilee celebration, Rock the Endowment, was at night. But on the daytime activities, they gave tours of the school for several hours, and then they had a pep rally. But what was very interesting about that, tours of the schools, they had teachers there that were actually before my time. So these were teachers back from the 70s and 80s who are still here, who came to tour the school. They had my former neighbor, who is 96 years old, who was the vice principal of the school for 20 years until 1985. He was there talking to people come through. But even more interesting to me was we had a lot of feeder school families who were there because they don't normally have the opportunity to visit a campus and walk through it and take a tour. And we had private school feeder schools because they took the announcement out to all the feeder schools, Pegasus, Harbor Day, all those schools. So they had families from those schools who came, toured the campus, and then they had a pep rally and they could see some of the the madrigals and the pep squad and
Drumline.
Pardon?
Drumline.
The drumline. I mean, they had lots of activities for these people to view, and it was really exciting. And Dr. Haley said, we should do this every year, and it's maybe something every school should think of doing every year, every high school, to bring in the communities because they don't just walk on campus, to just highlight activities so the feeder schools and some of the private schools can see what goes on in that area. So that was really exciting. And I don't think that President Bartow gave enough credit to our golf skills yesterday.
You guys are great.
We did come in 24th, I think.
Yeah.
But Dr. Smith
Out of 25?
and Dr.
Out of 24 or
Bolton
out of
came in
25?
second, and I'm not
Fourth.
fourth.
No, second.
I'm not quite sure how that happened, but we'll let it go for this
It
one.
certainly wasn't because of me.
Well, they played with the golf coach, so.
Well, that does help.
And I think some of these teams make their own rules. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say about that. And then Krista and I went to the first meeting of the Newport Beach Mayor's Youth Council.
Oh,
They started it back this year after 2-year hiatus because of COVID, and they do it in a little different format. They do it in the same way they did back in 2019.
Okay.
When they had the students apply, and then they were paired with a mentor who works somewhere in the city. And so they will meet with them throughout the year. So they won't have regular meetings that will be attended, but they will be coming in May to give a presentation to the board. So that's always nice.
I will. Ethan, would you like to give any kind of extra report? Closing remarks for us?
All I have is that Cloud Campus had 73 secondary students registered for the college and career night. Of course, we have our elementary grade parent-teacher conferences going on. This Thursday, Cloud Campus is holding a pizza party for students 9 to 12, and we have our Let's Be Kind Day coming up on November 7th.
Excellent. I forgot about Willy Wonka. I thought so sure I'd make it, but Willy Wonka's coming up to Costa Mesa High School and in the single-digit numbers of November that first week. Thank you. Next week.
Thank you very much. And with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 9:03.